Chapter 2788. The result of this trial has been changed. Anyone who successfully gathers a medicinal herb can exchange it for a third-grade elixir pill or a heavenly material that the Heavenly Elixir School currently has. Anyone who successfully gathers 2 medicinal herbs can exchange it for a third-grade elixir pill or a heavenly material that the Heavenly Elixir School currently has. Furthermore, they can also ask the Heavenly Elixir School to help them refine a third-grade elixir pill. Of course, the Heavenly Elixir School has the right to reject the type of elixir refined according to the difference of the elixir. Of course, you can also exchange it for a third-grade elixir or a heavenly treasure that the Heavenly Elixir School currently has. The fortune teller paused for a moment before continuing. The same goes for the 3 medicinal herbs. The cultivators present were in an uproar. They didn't expect that the Heavenly Elixir School's trial test would offer such a generous offer, which made them very tempted. They could ask to make elixirs for themselves. This was a great opportunity that they had never had before, especially the disciple from the Ice Palace. She was very excited. She came here to try her luck. The Sky Elixir School wouldn't concoct an Ice Heart Jade Bone Pill for the Ice Palace. Even if she passed the trial, she would only get a level 3 Dan that the Sky Elixir School had already used. But what if she could get 2 herbs? However, she was only excited for a bit. Then, she shook her head. Not to mention whether she could get 2 herbs, even if she could, the Sky Elixir School would be selective when they concoct a level 3 Dan. They wouldn't concoct a level 3 Dan for her. Seeing that there was no hope for her to exchange for a Dan, the disciple from the Ice Palace also decided to leave. She had been told by Bingtang that she should participate in the trial if it was possible. If not, then she should just come back. There was no need to risk her life for a Dan. The 5 Evils Savage Land is extremely dangerous. During the trial, I hope that no one will fight. After all, there are a lot of herbs there, and it's not too hard to find. It's just that there are too many spirit beasts there, so it's not easy to collect them. So, after you get the herbs, it's best that you come back as soon as possible. Tianji said, during the trial, life or death is up to fate. The Sky Elixir School won't take any responsibility. Alright, those who have any objections, you can leave tonight. Those who don't have any objections, come to Elder Kang and pay the deposit. After Tianji said his piece, some people left, while others stood up. When Lin Yi was about to swipe his card to pay the deposit for the trial of Heavenly Elixir Sect, Feng Shipian helped Lin Yi swipe his card first. Kang Ming was expressionless throughout the whole process, as if this matter had nothing to do with him. This surprised Lin Yi a lot. Did the kid's personality change? Why wasn't there any change in his expression when I appeared? Could it be? Was there a bigger conspiracy behind all this? After paying the deposit and registering his strength, Lin Yi could leave with an entrance plate for the trial. The trial of the Heavenly Elixir Sect didn't even test the strength of the participants. It was not as strict as the Ice Palace's trial. But thinking about it, the Ice Palace was here to select outer disciples, while the Heavenly Elixir Sect was here purely for medicinal ingredients and money, so they didn't care about strength. Anyway, there was no upper limit for those above the mystic level, as long as you could afford the deposit. Then you could participate at will. Of course, Lin Yi was wrong. This was the only time the trial of the Heavenly Elixir Sect didn't test the strength of the participants. The previous trials of the Heavenly Elixir Sect strictly tested the strength of the participants, and no cheating was allowed. After collecting all the deposits, Tianji asked the inn-owner to arrange for everyone to go back and rest. He then said, "Gather here at 6 o'clock sharp tomorrow morning. I will lead everyone to the location of the trial of the Heavenly Elixir Sect, the 5 Evils Barren Land. Please come here on time, or else the deposit will not be refunded." "Yes." Everyone replied solemnly. "One more thing, I have to remind everyone, from the beginning of the trial to the time you leave the Heavenly Elixir Sect, nothing that happens here is allowed to spread. In the 5 Evils Barren Land, no cameras or other electronic devices are allowed to record what happens inside," Tianji warned. He was afraid that someone would record the terrain of the 5 Evils Barren Land, so that it would be easier for them to participate in the trial in the future. Everyone nodded in understanding. After all, these were all very reasonable requests. After everyone left, Tianji left with Kang Mingming as well. Kang Mingming's eyes scanned the direction of the inn, secretly praying that Zhong Naipao would be able to kill Lin Yi this time, and that would be the end of it. The night passed peacefully, and the next morning, at 4:30, Lin Yi came back to reality from the training space. He went to the washroom to wash up and left the room. Originally, Lin Yi had planned to raise Chikuan's strength to Earth Class early phase, but Lin Yi didn't have any chi-gathering pills on him right now, and Chikuan was Mystic mid-phase peak right now. Raising him to late phase peak wouldn't help him much in the trial, and so Lin Yi decided not to bring it up. What Lin Yi didn't expect was that Zhao Chikuan, Feng Shipian, Ji Xian, and Li Siba were already out of the room, chatting not far from Lin Yi's door. Chikuan said when he saw Lin Yi, "Boss, you're awake." "Yeah, you guys are early." "I was thinking of training a bit more," Lin Yi said. "Right, where's Chichi?" "She's not up yet, right?" Chikuan looked at the room at the end of the hallway. "It's not good for us to wake her. Why don't you wake her up, boss?" Everyone, including Chikuan, didn't know what Lin Yi and Chichi's relationship was, so naturally, they couldn't wake her up. "All right, I'll go wake her up." Lin Yi knew Chichi's room number, and he walked towards the end of the hallway. But just as Lin Yi was about to knock, Chichi's door opened. She jumped when she saw Lin Yi. You. Why are you in front of my room?" "I'm here to wake you up, it's about time," Lin Yi said. Oh. Chichi held her chest and breathed heavily. She felt that this trial was full of danger, and she was afraid that someone bad would come after her. She hadn't slept well last night, and just as she was getting nervous, Lin Yi scared her. The sky had just begun to brighten when the square in front of the inn was already filled with disciples who had come to participate in the trial. Everyone held the attitude that it was better to arrive early than late as they waited for the arrival of the Heavenly Secrets divination. Chapter 2789. It's time. Cultivators participating in the trial, please follow me to the 5 Evils Savage Lands teleportation point. Diviner of Heavenly Secrets didn't waste any words and went straight to the point. No one dared to tarry. They hurriedly got up and followed behind Tianji Diviner, heading up the mountain together. Lin Yi and Skybolt Pig walked in the front, with Feng Shipian, Li Siba, Ji Xian, Chikuan, and Chichi following behind. Looking closely, most practitioners formed their own little circle. But there were exceptions, and that was Zhong Naipao and Demon 8. The everyday sect didn't have a good reputation, and Naipao's strength was something that everyone was afraid of, so no one wanted to team up with him. They walked for about 10 kilometers, but they were all practitioners, and their walking speed was fast. They didn't feel tired at all, and only stopped when they passed the Sky Elixir Sect's mountain range and came to a very secluded place. In front of them, there was a large building that looked like an altar. Its shape was very strange. Near the altar, several disciples of the Heavenly Elixir Sect were already waiting. It seemed that they had made preparations in advance. "We've already arrived at the Penta Savage Lands teleportation array. This teleportation array can teleport you to any location in the Penta Savage Land, but only one person can be teleported at a time. Therefore, even if you form a small team now, it will be difficult for you to meet each other once you arrive at the Penta Savage Land. Let me remind you that the best way is to find the spiritual herbs in the illustrated handbook as soon as possible." As he spoke, the Heavenly Secret Oracle pointed at a notice board in front of the teleportation array. It was the herb map everyone was looking for. He continued, "After you find the herbs, head south, and at the end of the 5-element barrens, there's a teleportation point. Go in and you'll be back safely." The group nodded. This 5-element barrens was indeed a mysterious place. Lin Yi thought that if he didn't have a map, it would take a lot of energy. It would probably be very tiring. No wonder so many people couldn't return from the trial every time. There's one more thing I want to remind you all. Generally speaking, everyone has to come out after half a month. If they don't come out after 20 days, then they won't be able to come out. Tianji reminded him, the Penta Savage Land is the territory of spirit beasts. It is filled with mysteries and oddities. Normally, if a cultivator stays in the Penta Savage Land for more than 20 days, the Penta evil chi will invade their body. If it was light, the cultivator's cultivation would be completely crippled, unable to continue cultivating. In the worst case, he would die from qi deviation. So, when the time is up, no matter if you have gathered the medicinal herbs or not, you must come out. Otherwise, you will bear the consequences. What's 5 malice qi? Naipao asked, confused. 5 evils qi. Once it invades a cultivator's body, the damage it will cause is extremely terrifying. Tianji Diviner explained, for example, let me give you an example. If a fire attribute cultivator's body is invaded by the 5 evils qi, then the fire attribute true qi within the 5 evils qi can be absorbed by him. This is the true qi that belongs to him, so it won't affect him at all. However, the other 4 types of true qi within the 5 evils qi will remain in his body, unable to be removed. Naipao nodded, not really bothered by it. He had the wasp absorption arts, after all, and qi of any element wouldn't be able to harm him. This 5 evils qi wouldn't be of much use to him. But Naipao's goal in the 5-element barons was to get a bone-cleansing pill for Pinliang. As long as he had the ingredients, he naturally wouldn't stay in the 5-element barons for too long. But Lin Yi paused. He might have a 5-element body, but he was still a practitioner of all 5 elements. He didn't know if there would be any problems with the 5 elements aura, right? Alright, since there are no more questions, please enter the portal and enter the 5-element barons, Tianji Diviner said to the group. From the beginning to the end, the participants entered the portal one by one, and stood in the middle of the altar-like building before disappearing. Evidently, they had entered the 5-element barons. Lin Yi had always held a reverent attitude towards things like ancient portals and portals. These were all phenomena that couldn't be explained by science. When it was Lin Yi's turn, Lin Yi strode into the portal, and the nearby disciples activated something, and Lin Yi's body disappeared. Lin Yi felt his vision darken, as if he had entered a long tunnel. His vision brightened up, and he found himself standing in an unfamiliar place. The altar beneath his feet had turned into a mountain, and the scenery in front of him had changed as well. Rolling green mountains, steep cliffs, beautiful blue skies, and white clouds. It was like a new world, as if he had returned to the ancient times. Skybolt Pig, what is this place? How far is the portal? Lin Yi asked the pig. Skybolt Pig had a strong sense of direction, and could usually estimate the distance if it wasn't too far away. Oink! Skybolt Pig shook his head, lost. He couldn't sense where they had come from anymore. Ow-woo, ow-woo. While Lin Yi was talking to Skybolt Pig, a roar of an unknown spirit beast came from not far away. Lin Yi was startled, and he remembered that there were many spirit beasts in the 5 Evils Savage Land, and many of them were heaven-rank spirit beast. Lin Yi quickly looked around vigilantly, and he found a hiding place on the cliff behind him. Although it wasn't a long-term plan, it could be a temporary shelter. Thinking of this, Lin Yi carried Skybolt Pig and jumped up to the hiding place on the cliff. Sure enough, not long after, a spirit beast that looked like a tiger but had horns on its head rushed over. Although this spirit beast wasn't weak, it obviously didn't have high intelligence. It wasn't as smart as the spirit beasts that lived alone in the human domain. Perhaps it sensed the appearance of Lin Yi, a human cultivator, but when Lin Yi hid, it circled around the place where Lin Yi was, but after finding nothing, it ran away and didn't look around. This earth-rank spirit beast was really stupid. Lin Yi shook his head, but he couldn't guarantee that all the spirit beasts here were as stupid as this spirit beast. Therefore, Lin Yi didn't come down from the cliff for the time being, and decided to observe the situation first before thinking of a countermeasure. Chapter 2790. All disciples participating in the Ice Heaven Pill Sect's test, please take note. The registration period has ended, and we will now begin the registration process. All disciples of the inn, please gather at the plaza in front of the inn in 10 minutes to accept the registration from the Sky Elixir sect, and pay the deposit. We will not wait after the deadline. The voice was full of energy, showing off the strength of the person who was speaking. This person was actually a Sky-class late-phase peak. It seemed like the Sky Elixir sect wasn't weak at all. Lin Yi remembered that Aunt Qing, a Sky-class master, had come for the Ice Palace test, but she was only Sky-class mid-phase, and their sect master was only Sky-class late-phase peak. The Sky Elixir sect, on the other hand, was a Sky-class late-phase peak. They really couldn't be underestimated. Although the Sky Elixir sect had given them a time limit of 10 minutes, none of the disciples dared to be slow. In less than 3 minutes, almost all the disciples came out of the inn and came to the plaza. Lin Yi came downstairs as well, with Chikuan, Feng Spian, Li Siba, Ji Xian, and Chichi. They found a clean spot and sat cross-legged on the ground. The other disciples followed Lin Yi's example and found a place to sit. The Sky Elixir sect's disciple, on the other hand, was standing expressionlessly on a platform in the plaza. He didn't hide his strength at all, Sky-class late phase peak on full display. Beside him was a young man in a grey robe, around 20 years of age. Lin Yi's heart was filled with shock with just one look. It was Kang Ming. This guy was representing the Sky Elixir sect to welcome the disciples. Lin Yi's heart tightened. This guy wouldn't try to get revenge after seeing him, would he? Kang Ming seemed to be looking for something as well, and when he saw Lin Yi, a strange light flashed in his eyes. The Sky Elixir School's trial was a huge event in the ancient times. Even if Kang Jiaoming was the young master of the Sky Elixir School, he wouldn't be able to target a single practitioner, let alone an elder of the school. If this matter were to be exposed, then the reputation of the Sky Elixir School would be tarnished. Who would dare participate in the Sky Elixir School's trial in the future? He couldn't do anything to Lin Yi in the open, but he could do things in the dark. Zhong Naipao of the Everyday and Everyday sect was one of the pawns Jiaoming was using. Jiaoming had found out about the grudge between Zhong Naipao and Lin Yi, and so with his help, Zhong Naipao had gotten his hands on a map as well. Kang Ming wouldn't need to do anything himself, and he'd get Naipao to take care of Lin Yi. As long as Lin Yi was dead, then everything would be solved. Soon, all the disciples had arrived, sitting cross-legged as they waited for the Sky Elixir sect's elder to speak. Seeing that everyone had arrived, the person from the Heavenly Elixir sect nodded indifferently and said, "Since everyone is here, let's begin. Let me introduce myself first. I'm Tianji Diviner, the elder in charge of this test, and this is Elder Kang Ming, the one who will assist me in completing the test." Although the man who spoke was only an elder of the Heavenly Elixir sect, and some of the people who came for the trial were core disciples of various sects, this elder of the Heavenly Elixir sect was obviously not an ordinary elder. This could be seen from his name. The head of the Sky Elixir sect was called Tianji Xing, and this elder was called Tianji Diviner. Even if he wasn't Tianji Xing's blood brother, he was still Tianji Xing's cousin, and no one dared to underestimate him. Moreover, the most important thing was that this Tianji's strength seemed to be real, and not the superficial strength of an alchemist. This was a real martial arts cultivator. Most of you here come from ancient houses and sects, and I'm sure you know the rules of the Sky Elixir sect very well. I believe that even the lone practitioners have asked around about the rules of the Sky Elixir sect. At this point, the heavenly secret divination paused for a moment. His gaze swept across the disciples present before he continued, "However, there are some changes to the rules of the trial this time around. First of all, our previous trial rules only allowed cultivators above the mystic class and below the earth class to participate. But this time, we have relaxed the rules and allowed all cultivators above the mystic class to participate. But in comparison, the trial deposit amount has been increased. It was 100 million before, but this time, it will be 200 million. The words of Tianji made all the cultivators who were participating in the trial look at each other in dismay. Why did the price of this trial increase? And it was not a small increase, from 100 million to 200 million. This was really a scam. But thinking about it, this time the rules of the Sky Elixir sect had changed and relaxed the requirements, which was why there were so many more people than in the past. Was it to make money? Thinking about the increased deposit, everyone thought it was very possible. Seeing the expressions of the cultivators below, Tianji Tian was very satisfied. This year's Heavenly Elixir trial was different from the previous ones. If something went wrong, the Heavenly Elixir sect was afraid that the other ancient sects would see through it and come looking for trouble with them. Therefore, they had deliberately increased the trial deposit amount to mislead others into thinking that the Heavenly Elixir sect had relaxed the conditions for participants this time because they were short of money. Otherwise, if a large number of Earth class or even Heaven class disciples died, it would be easy to make people suspicious. Now, even if someone was suspicious, They could only think that the Sky Elixir Sex trial was too dangerous, because the change in the requirements of the participants' strength had been explained as a matter of making money. Well, since there is no doubt, then I'll talk about the rules of the trial. This trial will last for half a month, with 5 days in total. The location of the trial is the Five Evils Wilderness behind the mountain of the Sky Elixir sect. During the trial, you need to collect a medicinal herb in the Five Evils Wilderness. As long as you get the herb, you can walk out of the Five Evils Wilderness and complete the trial. Of course, if you don't collect it, you can quit, but it will be regarded as an automatic forfeit, and the deposit cannot be refunded. Tianji Diviner continued. What Tianji Diviner said was no different from the previous trial, so no one had any special expression. Only Lin Yi was listening carefully, he didn't know much about it before. Chapter 2791. Zhong Pingliang? Since you're here, I don't even need to look for you. Chibing was overjoyed when he saw Zhong Pingliang. He jumped down from the car and pulled on Pingliang's door. Get out of the car. Huh! You little bastard, still trying to act tough. Pingliang was furious. He had to admit that Lin Yi was acting tough in front of him, but Chibing still dared to do this to him. He didn't even need Chibing to provoke him. He opened the car door and grabbed Chibing's collar. I see that you want to break your legs, don't you? Break my legs. I'll let you have a taste of that too. Chibing's fist flew towards Pingliang's face, and with a loud bang, Pingliang's nose started to bleed. This scene made Chibing even more excited. An Earth class was indeed powerful. He couldn't do anything to Pingliang before, but now he was only an Earth class early phase, and he could draw blood with one punch. The difference in strength wasn't a joke. I'm bleeding. Pingliang paled as he touched his face. He couldn't believe his eyes when he saw the fresh blood on his hand. Wasn't he supposed to be able to defend against all attacks from anyone below Sky class? Why couldn't he block Chibing's punch? Plus, the pain on his face wasn't fake. It was deep, and he almost cried from the pain. Bang! Zhao Chibing didn't care about him and slapped him again. Zhao Chibing had been humiliated by Zhong Pingliang before, and now that he had the chance to take revenge, he wouldn't let it go easily. Although he couldn't kill Zhong Pingliang, he could at least cripple him. Ouch! Pingliang screamed again. It hurts, bang. I'm dying of pain, bang. Stop, bang. You're a Sky class? You've reached Sky class? Bang. My leg, it's broken, bang. I'm going to faint. Zhao Chibing finally vented his anger after beating Pingliang up. He drove away in high spirits, humming a little tune. Medicine, cut, make a mess, electric cannon, kick. Xiaofu wasn't a practitioner, so he could only stand there like an idiot. He couldn't help Pingliang at all, and when Chibing left, he quickly helped Pingliang up and asked weakly, Liang bro, are you okay? Don't die. Fuck, are you cursing me? Even Lin Yi couldn't kill me, how could Zhao Chibing kill me? Pingliang was furious. Then, didn't you faint just now? Gao Xiaofu said carefully. If I didn't faint, would he have stopped? His killing me. Pingliang limped up from the ground. His leg wasn't broken, but his bones were fractured. Chibing knew his limits and didn't want to get carried away. I see. Xiaofu looked at the pitiful Pingliang. Liang bro, why isn't your bra working again? Who knows? It's selective and intermittent. It didn't work in front of Lin Yi, it worked in front of Right Coiling Tiger, and now it's working again. Pingliang was starting to get suspicious. He could believe that Lin Yi had leveled up to Sky class, but was it even possible that Zhao Chibing had leveled up to Sky class? Did he eat a chi gathering pill? Then what should we do now? Xiaofu asked carefully. Go back to the Everyday and Everyday sect, immediately. I don't want to stay here a minute longer, Pingliang ordered as he climbed into the car. Yes. Gao Xiaofu hurriedly nodded, got into the car, started it, and sped away. Zhao Chibing was in a good mood after beating up Pingliang. He wanted to race a few laps on the streets. One had to know that his racing skills were quite good, and most professional racers weren't his match. He hadn't raced since he suffered a loss in the car race. But before Chibing could find a place to race, his phone rang. Grandpa. Zhao Qibing was surprised. The number was from his grandpa's study, and grandpa usually wouldn't call the children of House Zhao on his own accord. It must be something important. Qibing, where are you? Old Zhao's voice came from the other side of the phone. I'm on the streets, Grandpa. What's up? Zhao Qibing asked carefully. I've talked to old Yu from the hidden house Yu. Go to him and pick a technique, old Zhao ordered. But remember to be polite when you're there. Don't let people look down on you. Don't worry, Grandpa. I know what I'm doing. Zhao Qibing was overjoyed. He didn't think he'd get news so soon. He thought he'd have to wait for a while. One couldn't blame him for being happy. As far as he was concerned, martial arts were very important to a practitioner. The reason why Lin Yi was able to defeat enemies above his level when he was only an Earth-class mid-phase peak was because of his martial art. Otherwise, why didn't Lin Yi have such an obvious advantage when he was at Golden and Mystic class? Although he could still fight above his level, it would only be more obvious after practicing the techniques. So, Zhao Qibing wanted to pick a strong technique for himself. Majestic Fist, on the other hand, didn't meet his requirements. It was just a normal technique, nothing special. Elder Bai didn't have a choice back then, but now that he had a choice, he naturally hoped that Zhao Qibing could learn a stronger technique. Go! Old Zhao nodded. He called old Yu from the hidden house Yu, and it took quite a bit of effort. After all, he'd stolen old Yu's Qi gathering pill, causing Yu Xiaochen to lose his chance to ascend to sky class. But the two houses were still in-laws, and on a hidden level, they were still connected. Elder Yu wasn't too happy that he didn't make Yu Xiaojin's son the heir of the house, but he could understand why Elder Zhao was doing this. It was just like in ancient times. Why didn't the sons of foreign princesses have the right to be emperors? It was the same reason. Was Yu Xiaojin's son a part of House Yu or House Zhao? If he were to lean towards House Yu in the future, wouldn't House Zhao be a branch of House Yu? How much courage did one need to make such a decision? Chapter 2792. When Qibing drove to the hidden house Yu's villa that night, the hidden house Yu gave him some face, and Xiaochen personally came out to greet this cheap nephew of his. At the banquet, Qibing saw the crippled Yu Shan. Compared to Qibing's happiness, Yu Shan was a little pitiful. Both of them were participants in the power struggle, but Qibing was the winner, and Yu Shan was the loser. The future of House Yu belonged to Yu Bing, and Yu Shan was just a stepping stone for Yu Bing. The reason he could come to this banquet was because there were too few direct descendants of House Yu. Only Yu Shan and Yu Ning were at home, and the others were the descendants and disciples of the elders. They weren't direct descendants of House Yu, so they couldn't attend this banquet. Of course, Elder Yu didn't attend this banquet. He didn't need to give face to a junior like Qibing. Yu Xiaochen's presence was enough to give face to the hidden house Zhao. But when Zhao Qibing saw Yu Ning, he was shocked. In his entire life, he had never seen such a beautiful and refined woman. She was simply a fairy from a fairy tale world who did not eat the food of mortals. Although Tang Yun was also very beautiful, and Zhao Qibing had his eyes on her before, he only wanted to play with her. For an ordinary girl like Tang Yun who had no background, Zhao Qibing didn't put her in his eyes at all. But Yu Ning was different. She was the little princess of the hidden house Yu. Qibing naturally knew what Qikuan was thinking, and he knew the relationship between Qikuan and Lin Yi. It would be best if Qikuan died in this sky elixir test, but what if he didn't? After all, Lin Yi was the biggest variable. Who knew what would happen with him in the sky elixir test? So Qibing had to find allies for himself. His father had gotten his position because of Yu Xiaojin, and Qibing had to follow his father's footsteps. He didn't have much power himself, so if he had the support of the hidden house Yu, it would be the same as hugging onto a thick thigh. Moreover, the most important point was that Yu Ning was too beautiful. Her face was like water, without a trace of makeup. She was gentle and quiet. The only ornament on her soft hair was a hair clip. Although the hair clip was a bit rustic, like the kind of pure handmade products worn by primitive tribes, when it was worn on Yu Ning's hair, it didn't look rustic at all. Instead, it had a touch of spirituality. Zhao Qibing had an impulse to take her as his own. Too beautiful, too arousing. Zhao Qibing took a deep breath. In order to not let his perverted look ruin the image of the hidden Yu family, he smiled and looked at Yu Ning. This must be cousin Yu Ning, I've heard a lot about you. My auntie always said that Ning sis is the most beautiful woman in the world, it seems like she was wrong. Yu Ning slightly frowned. How could there be such a person? How could he be so rude? Xiao Chen's face darkened as well. What was this Zhao Qibing? Did he know how to talk? However, Zhao Qibing continued, the most beautiful woman in the world is an insult to Lil Sis Ning. Lil Sis Ning is the most invincible girl in the universe. Xiao Chen let out a breath of relief as a smile appeared on his face once more. This Zhao Qibing wasn't bad at all. His words were a little mushy, but he was good at flattery. Saying that his daughter was pretty made Xiao Chen quite happy. The most invincible girl in the universe. Yu Ning didn't look happy at all. She only said faintly, Qibing bro, you've watched too many dramas, haven't you? You even used the lines. That's. Qibing's expression froze. He had indeed seen this in a TV series, a very old one. It was called The Heroine Conquers the Heaven's Gate. There was a line like this in the universe, but he thought that no one had seen it before. He thought that it was his original line to make the beauty smile, but who would have thought that Yu Ning had seen it before? Let's eat, haha. Yu Ning didn't want to embarrass Qibing too much. She just wanted him to stop showing off. Oh. Qibing smiled awkwardly as he raised his chopsticks. Yu Shan looked at everything coldly. He didn't say anything, but his eyes were filled with anger and unwillingness. Why? Even if his father wasn't the head of the house, it didn't affect his status as a direct descendant of House Yu. Why could the son of the head of the house get such good treatment, but he, who wasn't the head of the house, couldn't? They were both grandpa's grandsons. Why? Why? He wasn't willing to accept it, especially after he became a cripple. Yu Shan's heart had become infinitely twisted. He hated Yu Bing, hated Yu Xiaochen, and even hated Yu Ning. Seeing the hatred in his son's eyes, Xiaochen's second brother, Yu Xiaozhong, sighed deeply. He was angry at himself for not fighting for it. If he were stronger, would his son end up like this? But the father and son didn't think about it. If Yu Shan didn't go to the Ice Palace test and separate from Yu Bing, and go against Lin Yi, would he end up like this? There were many practitioners who were bullied by Zhong Naipao and Feng Nitian in the test, but if they didn't fight back, they could still protect themselves. Why did Yu Shan have to be crippled? But angry people usually didn't think about these things. That was the logic of petty people blaming others. Qibing seemed to like Yu Ning. Yu Shan calculated in his heart. Could this be a condition he could use? If it worked, he'd be able to incite the hatred between Qibing and the hidden House Yu. It wouldn't do Yu Shan any good, but the crippled Yu Shan had long since given up on being the young head of the house. He couldn't be the young head of the house anymore, and so all he wanted was revenge, to make Yu Xiaochen suffer. Because of Yu Ning's coldness, Qibing didn't say anything inappropriate. After all, he was here for the skills. If Yu Xiaochen really hated him, then it wouldn't be worth it. So, Qibing planned to go back and let his grandpa think of something. After dinner, Yu Xiaochen called Qibing to a private room and gave him 2 manuals. I've been looking around for a while, and the only thing our hidden House Yu has are these 2 gold-type manuals. You can have them. Ah, only 2. Qibing was a little disappointed. He thought that there would be a bunch of skills for him to choose from. Chapter 2793. Oh, there's no need for that. We'll talk about our own things. Pao is still your disciple, and I've just taken over his body, so I'm not strong enough yet. I need to train as much as I can, and I don't have time to teach Pao and the others. Help me teach them martial arts, Pin Liang said. From now on, just call me Liang bro, Pao. You're my loyal follower, and the next leader of this everyday sect will be you. That's. Naipao didn't know what to say. He was very emotional, but more than anything, he was happy. Liang bro was finally getting stronger. Before, Naipao was still respectful to Pin Liang, but he was getting stronger and stronger. He didn't want Pin Liang to stay mediocre, but there was nothing he could do about it. It seemed like Liang bro really was a boss material, no matter where he went. Even in the everyday sect, he was the boss. Naipao, I had high hopes for you too, And now that you have your master, the sect's future depends on you. Pure Yang said. Yes. Nai Pao was very excited. Xiaofu was happy as well. Liang Bro was getting stronger. Didn't that mean he was going to get stronger as well? His unwelcome treatment here would soon turn into compliments, and he'd be Pinliang's follower. He'd be a big shot in the future. Ian, right, where's Kuangyo? Pinliang asked. Master, Kuangyo is in isolation right now. Do you think? If it was Pure Yang himself, he wouldn't dare disturb Kuangyo right now, but Kuanglong was different. Let's go. Get him out. I have something to discuss with him. Pinliang said faintly. Okay, Master, please. Pure Yang Empyrean quickly made a gesture and said. Pow, Xiaofu, you guys follow me. I'm still used to having you guys be my followers. Pinliang said with a wave of his hand. Yes, Liang Bro. Nai Pao and Xiaofu were very happy Liang Bro was getting stronger, but he was still the same Liang Bro from before, still treating them like his followers. Empyrean Pure Yang couldn't help but smile bitterly. It seemed like his master's personality had changed. However, this was a good thing. In the past, his master always had a straight face and was very serious, which made him afraid. Now, his master was much more easygoing. The few of them came to the place where Master Kuangyo was in seclusion. Pure Yang Empyrean went to call Master Kuangyo. With Zhong Pingliang backing him, he wasn't afraid of anything. Ancestral Master Wild Bull was in seclusion. Although he had advanced to the peak of the Heaven Realm in the past few years, he hadn't cultivated to the Great Circle. Although he was only a fine line away from the Great Circle, he still hadn't reached it. Therefore, he spent most of his time in seclusion. Hearing Empyrean Pure Yang's summons, Ancestral Master Kuangyo frowned. He had once said not to summon Empyrean Pure Yang unless it was a matter of life or death for the sect. But now, the sect hadn't sent out any warning signals. They shouldn't have encountered any danger. Why would Empyrean Pure Yang want him? Pure Yang, what's the matter? Although Ancestral Master Kuangyo was angry, Empyrean Pure Yang was still the sect master of the everyday and everyday sect. He wouldn't be unreasonable, so he asked patiently. Ancestral Master Kuangyo, my master is back. Empyrean Pure Yang said quickly. What? What did you say? Your master is back. Are you crazy? How many years has it been since your master was buried? Ancestral Master Kuangyo was stunned. Are you still dreaming in the middle of the night? No, Ancestral Master Kuangyo, my master's primordial spirit has taken over my body. He really is back. Empyrean Pure Yang explained quickly. What? He took over your body? Ancestral Master Kuangyo stood up suddenly and walked out quickly. He saw Zhong Pingliang smiling at him not far away. But for some reason, this smile gave him a familiar feeling. Although Ancestral Master Kuangyo was very cold and irritable, when facing his two junior brothers, he would often show a rare smile. It was very similar to the smile Zhong Pingliang was showing now. Kuangyo, it's been more than 10 years. You brat, you almost killed me. Zhong Pingliang walked towards Ancestral Master Kuangyo. Are you really my senior brother? Ancestral Master Kuangyo also knew about the primordial spirit, but he was a little uncertain. Let's go inside and talk in detail. Zhong Pingliang pointed to the place where Ancestral Master Kuangyo was in seclusion. Okay, Pure Yang, wait at the door first. He and I will go in and check it out. Ancestral Master Kuangyo hadn't confirmed Zhong Pingliang's identity yet, so he was still a little skeptical. The two of them walked into the inner room of seclusion. Zhong Pingliang began to narrate some of the sect's secret history, some things that only the three of them knew. Now, Ancestral Master Kuangyo was dead, and Ancestral Master Kuangyo was forcibly taken away by the ruthless person who destroyed the sect. Only Ancestral Master Kuangyo was left. Logically speaking, no one in the sect should know about these things, but Zhong Pingliang was very familiar with them. Moreover, Ancestral Master Kuangyo asked Ancestral Master Kuangyo some questions, and Zhong Pingliang answered them fluently, knowing everything about the past like the back of his hand. Only then did Ancestral Master Kuangyo believe his identity. You really are my senior brother. That's great, you're finally back. Haha, Kuangyo, although I'm your senior brother, I only have a body of memories now, but no strength. I need to cultivate again. Zhong Pingliang smiled and couldn't help but shake his head helplessly. That's okay, there are many treasures in the sect. Senior brother, you can take them as you please. Recover your strength as soon as possible, and we brothers will return to Heavenly Island together, step into the Heavenly Dao, and find second senior brother as soon as possible. Ancestral Master Kuangnyo said. Find him. Zhong Pingliang smiled bitterly, still fearful. That person killed me with one punch back then. How strong was he? How are we going to find second senior brother? If he's done with his business, he'll come back on his own, and if we go looking for him, we'll either be forced to stay or killed. Zhong Pingliang had inherited Ancestral Master Kuangnyo's memories, and he was still very afraid of what happened back then. This was a strength that he couldn't surpass, and it was like a mountain that he could only look up to, unable to have any thoughts of revenge. This didn't seem to be targeting Lin Yi. As far as he was concerned, Lin Yi was strong, but there was still hope for him to surpass him. He had placed his hopes on Zhong Naipao, feeling that the gap between Naipao and Lin Yi wasn't that big, and revenge was still a possibility. Now that he had become the founder of the Mad Dragon Patriarch, he could seek revenge on Lin Yi himself in the future. However, he didn't even have the guts to think about seeking revenge on those two people from back then. Chapter 2794. Even Zhao Chikuan was very surprised. He didn't understand why Lin Yi would say that. In fact, even if Lin Yi wanted to hide it, he wouldn't be able to hide it for long. Since Zhong Naipao was coming this time, Lin Yi's identity would definitely be exposed, and Feng Shipian would know about it. It was better to say it now, it would be more honest. Zhao Chikuan is actually Feng Nitian's follower. Let him tell you about the situation, Lin Yi said. Zhao Chikuan nodded and told Feng Shipian about the Ice Palace trial. After Feng Shishuan heard this, he smiled bitterly and nodded his head. I guessed it right. That cousin of mine is young and promising. At that time, he was called the number one person under the Earth rank. 8 out of 7 people were unconvinced. Young hero Lin actually didn't do anything wrong. It's good that you understand. Lin Yi nodded and said, Feng Nitian stole things in the trial, and I have someone I want to save. I can't compromise with him, so we have to fight to the death. Haha, it's okay, young hero Lin, you don't need to explain, I understand. If I had your martial arts, I would fight back if someone bullied me. Feng Shipian said, but, young hero Lin is really strong, you were only mystic late phase, but you could injure my cousin. Of course, boss is strong. Zhao Chikuan wanted to say more, but Lin Yi interrupted him. Let's not talk about this, since Brother Feng doesn't blame me, that's good. Lin Yi didn't want Zhao Chikuan to talk about meaningless things, and he could see that the relationship between Feng Shipian and Feng Nitian wasn't that good. It was just that Feng Shipian was a kind person, right? Ji Xian, you mentioned Zhong Naipao before, what's going on? Zhong Naipao. Ji Xian didn't hide it. I heard that on the way here, Zhong Naipao had a conflict with 2 disciples from Holofist Palace. One of them was crippled on the spot, so only one came. Zhong Naipao did it. Lin Yi frowned and was a little surprised. Is the Holofist Palace practicing external mental cultivation methods? Lin Yi remembered that House Pai had some connection with the Holofist Palace. Both of them practiced external arts, and wasn't Zhong Naipao's ultimate skill the wasp absorption art? He could absorb the chi of an inner sect cultivator, but what could he absorb from an outer sect cultivator? That shouldn't be the case. If Naipao had gotten into a fight with a spiritual practitioner, that person would have been crippled on the spot, but now, could it be that Naipao had trained in some other mystical arts? Plus, Naipao was crippled by him, and he recovered after he went back. Lin Yi would have believed it if he'd recovered, since the ancient sects had all sorts of elixirs. But to say that Naipao could even absorb physical practitioners was bullshit. Could it be that Naipao had trained in some powerful technique? Thinking about it, it made sense. After all, Zhong Naipao was an Earth class now, and it was normal for him to train in martial arts. Yes, it's external mental cultivation methods. Ji Xian lowered his voice. Let me tell you, according to reliable information, Zhong Naipao just stood there and didn't move. The master of the Holofist Palace only punched him once, and then he fell to the ground and became a cripple. What? How did he do it? Lin Yi was stunned. Could it be that Zhong Naipao could also use the wasp absorption art as a physical practitioner? Otherwise, why would the disciple of the Holofist Palace be crippled when he didn't move? This was a little unscientific. I don't know about this. Although I, Ji Xian, make a living by selling information, there are some top-secret information that I can't get. Ji Xian shook his head. You sell information? Lin Yi was stunned. That's right. I'm just a rogue cultivator. I don't have any backing, nor do I have any cultivation resources. In order to exchange for some cultivation resources, I can only rely on selling information to survive. Of course, I have my own ways and connections. Ji Xian said, in the cultivation world, people call me demi-immortal Ge to describe me as a fortune teller. In fact, I have more information channels. Lin Yi nodded. A rogue cultivator who could cultivate to the level of Ji Xian was not an ordinary rogue cultivator. He had his own set of survival rules. Otherwise, it would be difficult to survive in the cultivation world where the strong preyed on the weak. Without ability, it would be difficult to move forward. Lin Yi was about to inquire more, but he didn't expect a commotion outside the restaurant. Then a young man pushed the door and entered, but he did not continue to enter the restaurant. Instead, he held the door and made a gesture of invitation. Then, another person entered the restaurant. What Lin Yi didn't expect was that this person was Zhong Naipao. Naipao walked in arrogantly, and the man who opened the door said respectfully, "Gunslinger, please take a seat." Behind Naipao was another man, respectful as always. These two were disciples of the Everyday and Everyday sect. Naipao's followers. Naipao had been injured last time at the Ice Palace, and so for his safety this time, the Everyday and Everyday sect sent 2 more followers over. These 2 were stronger than Naipao, both Sky Class mid-phase. In actuality, these 2 were both Naipao's seniors, and even if Naipao was a disciple of the pure young Sky Lord, there was no need for him to be this respectful. But now, Naipao had become a follower of the Everyday and Everyday sect, a follower of the Mad Dragon Master. The seniority didn't change, but which disciple under him would dare treat Naipao as a junior? Calling Naipao Gunslinger was already too much, and if it weren't for the fact that Naipao was a disciple of the pure young Sky Lord, they would have called him Master Naipao or Master Mad Pao. In fact, the Sky Elixir sect's test this time was very dangerous. The Everyday and Everyday sect, as one of the initiators of the Sky Class Island plan, had always been suppressed by the 5 Elements sect. But Naipao was a key person, and even if the 5 Elements sect didn't like the Everyday and Everyday sect, they wouldn't joke around with his life. Naipao had 2 goals for coming here. 1 was to get a bone-cleansing pill for Pinliang after winning the test, and 2 was to teach Lin Yi a lesson. Pinliang had lost to Lin Yi time and time again, and now that he was one of the elders of the Sky Elixir sect, he was desperate for revenge. But his strength was limited, and he could only send Naipao for revenge. Plus, when Naipao fought with Lin Yi, it would stimulate his training intent, allowing him to step into a higher level. Chapter 2795. At that moment, Lin Yi and Chikuan bumped into the 2 who had just come downstairs. The Feng from before was clearly a warm-hearted man, without the scheming of other practitioners. He greeted Lin Yi and Chikuan warmly. "Good evening, you 2. You're also here for the test, right? I'm Feng Shipian, pleased to meet you too." Lin Yi paused, thinking that this person was quite warm-hearted. He didn't have any airs of a Sky Class at all. What a weirdo. His name was even more so, Shipian. Why did he sound like a scholar? He didn't sound like a practitioner at all, and this person looked quite elegant as well. But this person gave Lin Yi a familiar feeling, as if he'd seen him somewhere before. Feng Shipian? Feng? Lin Yi suddenly remembered the Feng Nitian they were talking about, and his face changed. Yes, this person looked similar to Feng Nitian. Could this person be from the ancient House Feng? With that thought, Lin Yi became more cautious of this person. This person looked harmless, like a nice guy, but Lin Yi didn't just believe it on the surface. What if this person knew that he was the one who crippled Feng Nitian? Would he suddenly attack him? "Ah, so it's Master Feng, nice to meet you," Lin Yi said indifferently, not introducing himself. Who knew if House Feng knew that Lin Yi was Lin Yi? If they did, wouldn't they turn on him on the spot? Chikuan could tell that Lin Yi didn't have any intentions of getting to know them, so he just cupped his hands and didn't say anything. You two, don't you want to have dinner together? I'll be the host. Feng Shipian felt the coldness from Lin Yi and Chikuan, but he didn't know what the problem was. He felt that he was being very warm, so why didn't Lin Yi see it? No need, we just got here, and we need to clean up the room first. You guys go eat first. Lin Yi said faintly. All right. Feng Shipian did not insist. Everyone had their own aspirations. If the other party was unwilling to attend the banquet, there was nothing he could do. He could only leave with the people who had gone downstairs earlier. Lin Yi and Chikuan went upstairs. Chikuan was curious, but he didn't ask anything. If they could hear what Feng Shipian said before, then Feng Shipian would most likely hear what they were saying now. Chikuan didn't go to his room but Lin Yi's first. That Feng Shipian seems to be from the same family as Feng Nitian, the two of them should be related. Lin Yi said, that Feng Shipian seems to be from the same family as Nitian. Ah! Chikuan paused, wasn't that right? The two of them looked similar. He had been with Feng Nitian during the Ice Palace test, so of course he had a deep impression of him. However, he didn't think much about it until Lin Yi reminded him, they really do look alike. Could it be that this person is here for revenge? That's hard to say, he might just be here for the test. Lin Yi said, from the way this person speaks and does things, he seems a bit naive and inexperienced, but you can't judge a person's heart from his face. No one can be sure that this person isn't just a fool. That's true. Just be careful. Chikuan nodded. Feng Shipian and the other person went to the inn's restaurant. There weren't any other restaurants nearby, only this inn. Feng bro, who are those two? They don't seem to be very sociable. The person with Feng Shipian asked. He was a solo practitioner without a sect, and it was already quite a feat for him to be able to reach Earth-class late-phase peak. For a solo practitioner of this level to not be tempted by the common world to become a guard for some rich person, and instead, he kept on training. So, when Feng Shipian threw out an olive branch, he came over immediately. Sky class. Even though it was only early phase, it was enough for him to look up to. This person looked young, but he was already in his 40s. He called Feng Shipian bro just out of respect. I'm not sure, but it's normal. Many disciples of the ancient sects are very prideful, and they don't like to form cliques. After all, some of the ancient sects have conflicts with each other. It's impossible for their disciples to sit together peacefully. Feng Shipian explained. At the same time, the ancient Feng family was in an uproar. Feng Tianlin was sitting next to grandfather Feng in the family meeting room, glaring at Feng Tianhu. Feng Tianhu, what are you trying to do? You're hiding it from me, letting Shipian participate in the Sky Elixir test. Don't you know how dangerous that test is? Very few cultivators from the previous batches survived. Second bro, you're wrong. My son can participate in the Ice Palace test just because he's strong, but your son can't participate in the Sky Elixir test. What kind of logic is that? Feng Tianhu said faintly, plus, Feng Shipan is an early-stage Heaven-class master. He wasn't allowed to participate in the Heavenly Elixir sect's trial in the past. This time, the rules were relaxed. Why not let Shipan get some benefits? Don't think I don't know that you're letting Shipian participate in the Sky Elixir test to get a third-level Great Huan pill for Nitian. Feng Tianlin was furious. I didn't say that. I just told Shuan about the stakes. Shuan volunteered to participate in the trial of the Heavenly Elixir sect to get medicine for his brother, Feng Tianhu said calmly. You know Shipian's personality. Of course, he wouldn't reject you. Feng Tianlin hemped coldly. His son, Feng Shipian, wasn't a bad person, he was a good person. Feng Tianhu said that going to the Heavenly Elixir sect's test would give him a third-level Great Huan pellet to save his brother. He would definitely go. Alright, what's with the noise? Stop fighting. Elder Feng finally spoke. It's just a test, isn't it? Shipian is an early-phase sky class, and it's only right for him to train. Plus, it's our fortune that Nitian can recover, so why not? But Feng Tianlin wanted to say something but was interrupted by Elder Feng. Tianlin, Tianhu has his own plans, and is afraid that you'll stop Shipian from participating, but if it were up to me, I would still let Shipian go, Elder Feng said. Elder Feng said, 1. If Nitian recovers, it'll be a great thing for our ancient house Feng. 2. Feng Shipan is a sky-class master now, there shouldn't be any danger in the test. Chapter 2796. Lin Yi hid here, and although it looked safe, the spirit beasts below didn't notice him. But a spirit beast flying in the air noticed Lin Yi. It was an enlarged bat, its body as black as ink, with a pair of wings like a glider. On its head, there was a sharp horn. After noticing Lin Yi, it charged towards Lin Yi, shocking Lin Yi. This was a mystic mid-phase bat, but fortunately, Skybolt Pig was a mystic late-phase peak spirit beast. GG. Skybolt Pig said something to the black bat. Woo! The black bat paused when it saw Skybolt Pig. It didn't know why it was with a human practitioner. GG. Skybolt Pig and the black bat started talking again. The two spirit beasts talked for a bit more, and the black bat turned and left, but Skybolt Pig said to Lin Yi, GG. He then pointed downwards, signaling for Lin Yi to leave. What's going on? Lin Yi jumped down with Skybolt Pig, returning to the ground. Skybolt Pig wrote on the ground, that black bat wanted to attack you, and I used my strength to force it to leave, but if we meet a higher level flying spirit beast, there's nothing I can do. I'm afraid that the black bat will go back and call more companions, so we should leave this place as soon as possible. All right. Lin Yi nodded, a bitter smile on his face. This was the world of spirit beasts. How insignificant were human practitioners in this place? He wondered how Chikuan and the others were doing. GG. Skybolt Pig wrote on the ground again. Oh, you're saying that there's treasure over there? Lin Yi paused. Skybolt Pig wrote on the ground, there's treasure over there. GG. The Heavenly Thunder Pig nodded. Looking at what Skybolt Pig wrote, Lin Yi hesitated. His goal here was just to collect ingredients to trade for level 3 pills, and to protect Chikuan along the way. But Skybolt Pig said that there were treasures here, and to be honest, from a logical point of view, Lin Yi didn't want to go. But since he was already here, Lin Yi wouldn't give up if he didn't check it out. Is that treasure very useful to me? Lin Yi asked hesitantly. GG. The Heavenly Thunder Pig nodded. Then let's go and take a look. Lin Yi gritted his teeth and said, however, if we encounter the herbs needed for the trial, help me find them. GG. Skybolt Pig nodded, indicating that there was no problem. And so, one man and one pig headed in the direction Skybolt Pig had pointed out. He didn't know where to go to the safe spot on the map, and he hadn't confirmed the terrain yet. He might as well go to the place Skybolt Pig had pointed out first. Skybolt Pig's senses were sharper, and he would always warn Lin Yi if there were spirit beasts in the distance. Lin Yi wasn't in a rush, and he found a safe place to hide. But what made Lin Yi depressed was that he didn't get a single spirit herb along the way. There were indeed spirit herbs, but they usually grew near lakes and swamps. Those were the nests of spirit beasts, and Lin Yi avoided them all the time. How could he go and get one himself? Arriving at the trial grounds, Lin Yi finally understood why the Sky Elixir Sex trial had such great rewards. He had the Skybolt Pig by his side, and those without it would have a hard time moving forward. No wonder there were so few who survived, not to mention getting a spirit herb. Along the way, Lin Yi was terrified. After all, even if he faced a heaven-ranked master, Lin Yi wouldn't be afraid. Even if he couldn't win, he could still run, right? But spirit beasts were different. Some of them were extremely fast, and Lin Yi couldn't outrun them. Just like the black bat from before, its speed was comparable to that of a plane. In the blink of an eye, it appeared in front of Lin Yi, and Lin Yi couldn't fight against that kind of speed. But for some reason, Lin Yi didn't encounter any spirit beasts along the way. What made Lin Yi feel strange was that there wasn't even a single spirit beast, which made Lin Yi feel strange. Why aren't there any spirit beasts nearby? Lin Yi looked at Skybolt Pig strangely. GG. Skybolt Pig shook his head, indicating that there were no spirit beasts nearby. All right. Although Lin Yi continued to move forward, his heart was full of vigilance. After all, there must be something wrong with everything, and it was hard to say what would happen in front of him. Otherwise, Why would there be so many spirit beasts before, but no spirit beasts here? After moving forward for a while, there was no more road in front of him. It was a rolling green mountain, and no one knew where it went, but it blocked Lin Yi's way. There is no more road in front. Where is the treasure? Lin Yi stood at the foot of the mountain, looked at the vast mountain range, and asked Skybolt Pig. Gigi. Skybolt Pig pointed at the mountain range with his claw. You mean, the treasure is on the mountain? Lin Yi asked. Skybolt Pig nodded. On the mountain. Let me confirm where this place is first. Lin Yi said and took out the training map from his pocket. After walking for so long, Lin Yi had a general understanding of the terrain, especially the rolling green mountain in front of him, which was a landmark. Soon, Lin Yi found his location and the mountain range in front of him on the map. 5 Demons Mountain Range? Lin Yi was stunned, and his expression changed immediately. This was because this 5 Demons Mountain Range was marked as an extremely dangerous place on the map. However, the jade pendant didn't give any warning, which meant that the danger wasn't nearby. This map was a miniature version, so the place marked on it could be a few kilometers, tens of kilometers, or even hundreds of kilometers away. The danger might not be right in front of them. Skybolt Pig, I've confirmed our current location, but this map says that this place is extremely dangerous. What do you think? Lin Yi said and placed the map in front of Skybolt Pig. Skybolt Pig looked at the map that Lin Yi handed over, and then looked at the vast mountain range. He was a little confused, and obviously, he didn't feel any danger. But thinking about it, Skybolt Pig's specialty was that he could search for treasures from thousands of kilometers away, but his sense of danger was much weaker. At most, he could feel the presence of his own kind, but only in close proximity. Chapter 2797. Moreover, the Heavenly Elixir Sect's trial wasn't something that he could come whenever he wanted. He had to wait for the Heavenly Elixir Sect to hold it, and he wouldn't be able to enter even if he came. Go. Lin Yi gritted his teeth. He knew that there was a tiger on the mountain, but he still went ahead. Since he was already here, how could he leave? Most of the time, Lin Yi sought wealth in danger. Without taking risks, how could he gain any rewards? Thinking of this, Lin Yi made up his mind and walked up the mountain. The mountain path was very steep and rugged. There wasn't a smooth path up the mountain. Obviously, not only was there no one going up the mountain, there shouldn't be any spirit beasts going up either. This showed that there was definitely some kind of hidden danger on the mountain. Otherwise, why wouldn't there be any spirit beasts nearby? Moreover, even if there weren't any land spirit beasts, there should be some flying spirit beasts, right? However, Lin Yi didn't see any. Although the mountain path was difficult to walk, it wasn't a cliff. Even if there was no path, there were still some footholds. With Lin Yi's Qinggong, going up the mountain shouldn't be a problem. Skybolt Pig, which direction is it? Lin Yi asked. Gigi. Skybolt Pig stretched out his paw and pointed in a direction not far away. Lin Yi nodded and carried Skybolt Pig forward slowly. After walking for a few hundred meters, Skybolt Pig suddenly squeaked again. Gigi. Skybolt Pig squeaked and pointed at a stone hill not far away. Oh! The treasure you were talking about is here? Lin Yi asked, slightly taken aback. Gigi. Skybolt Pig nodded and then shook his head. What does that mean? Lin Yi asked curiously. Gigi. Skybolt Pig pointed at the stone hill and nodded. Then, he pointed at the mountain not far away and nodded again. Oh, I get it. You're saying that there's treasure here, and there's treasure not far from here, right? Lin Yi understood what the pig was getting at. Gigi. The Skybolt Pig nodded its head in satisfaction. Lin Yi quickly moved towards the stone hill. There was nothing special about the appearance of the hill. Lin Yi stretched out his hand to dig the hill and the jade did not warn him, which meant that there was no danger here. It didn't take long for the mound to be excavated, and what surprised Lin Yi was that underneath the rubble was the skeleton of a spirit beast. From the outside, it was hard to tell what kind of spirit beast it belonged to. There were too many types of spirit beasts. Lin Yi couldn't even recognize the living ones, let alone the dead ones. In this pile of spirit beast bones, Lin Yi didn't need to search much to find the inner core of a spirit beast. It seemed like this was the treasure that Skybolt Pig was talking about. Now, Lin Yi had 6 inner cores of spirit beasts. 1 was given by Go Huli's lion, 2 were obtained from Wulong Haoti mountain range, 1 was given by the Qian mountain sect, 1 was given by the ghost, and the last one was exchanged with a Sky Realm cultivator at the cultivator's market. However, the one that the ghost gave him was obviously different from the others, and the ghost didn't let him use it, so he couldn't just use it. The remaining 5 could be used to make a necklace of essence. Lin Yi didn't want to use it, so he didn't want to. However, Lin Yi wasn't a blacksmith, so he couldn't refine it yet. Now that he had obtained an extra essence Niden, it wasn't that he didn't want to waste it. To make an essence necklace, the minimum number of essence Niden was 5. The more, the better. Moreover, the higher the level of the beast, the better the effect. So, Lin Yi naturally wouldn't waste this essence Niden. Carefully putting away the inner core, Lin Yi asked Skybolt Pig, "Is the thing in front better than this?" "GG." Skybolt Pig nodded. "Good, let's continue." Lin Yi picked up Skybolt Pig and strode towards the top of the mountain. What made Lin Yi feel strange was that although the map clearly indicated that this was an extremely dangerous place, Lin Yi hadn't encountered any danger along the way. This made Lin Yi feel strange and suspicious. Did the Heavenly Elixir sect make a mistake? In other words, this place was an extremely dangerous place many, hundreds, even thousands of years ago, but perhaps the danger no longer existed. Otherwise, Lin Yi couldn't explain why he was safe and sound all this time, not running into any danger. At the top of the mountain, Lin Yi finally set foot on it. Standing there, Lin Yi wanted to see the whole scene of the trial ground, but he didn't expect that there would be a thick fog in the distance, so he couldn't see far. Maybe this was the natural climate of the trial ground. Lin Yi shook his head and didn't spend too much time on this matter. Instead, he asked Skybolt Pig, "We have reached the top of the mountain, where is the treasure?" "GG." Skybolt Pig turned his head and pointed at the cave in the distance. However, before Lin Yi could answer, a huge fluctuation of chi suddenly came. Not only Lin Yi's heart trembled, but even Skybolt Pig's hair stood up. Skybolt Pig rarely stood up since he started following Lin Yi. Whenever he encountered danger, his hair would stand up, carrying poison. Lin Yi had seen it once in the ancient tomb, and this time, Skybolt Pig's hair unconsciously stood up, which was enough to show how terrifying that aura was. Following the direction of the energy fluctuation, Lin Yi raised his head and looked in that direction. Not far from the mountain peak, there was a flash of colorful lights in the blue sky. These lights contained a violent energy fluctuation, and a loud rumbling sound was like the thunder before a storm, causing Lin Yi to feel an indescribable pressure. Boom! This was the sound of the collision of energy. Lin Yi focused his gaze and found that the sound came from the cave at the top of the mountain, and the colorful energy collision also came from that cave. Boom! Another loud sound was heard, and the explosive energy carried sand and stones in all directions. The entire mountain was suddenly filled with flying sand and stones, and the originally pure sky suddenly became gray. Even though Lin Yi was a cultivator, he was still a bit afraid of this strange phenomenon. What is this sound? Is this a battle between experts? Is there someone there? Or are 2 spirit beasts having a sword duel at Mount Hua? Lin Yi took a deep breath and muttered to himself. "GG." Skybolt Pig nodded his head, then shook it. "You mean, there is someone there? A man and a spirit beast are fighting?" Lin Yi looked at Skybolt Pig in surprise. Chapter 2798. Lin Yi's jade didn't warn him, but even if there was an earth-shattering battle, it wouldn't hurt Lin Yi. It made sense that the jade wouldn't warn him. A battle between a man and a beast. How did they create such a terrifying clash of energy? Lin Yi's eyes went wide, finding it hard to believe. Could it be that a participant was teleported to the top of the mountain, and there was a spirit beast there, and they started fighting? At the thought, Lin Yi hesitated. He didn't know if he should do something about it. Even if he didn't get close, Lin Yi could tell that the 2 weren't weak just from witnessing the battle from afar. It wasn't that Lin Yi couldn't create something like this, but Lin Yi made an energy bomb. So, It was strange that other people or spirit beasts could create something like this. Lin Yi was a little hesitant as he stared at the cave in the distance. There was still the sound of energy clashing, and the man and the beast were probably fighting fiercely. Should he go or not? At that moment, another thunderous sound rang in Lin Yi's ears. The ground beneath Lin Yi's feet started shaking, making Lin Yi hesitate. What if the person in the cave is Feng Shipian or Li Siba? Lin Yi hesitated. Of course, as far as Lin Yi was concerned, the person in the cave couldn't be Ji Xian, Chikuan, or Yang Chichi. If it were those three, they'd be dead already. There was no way they'd be fighting so intensely with the spirit beast. The cultivator in the cave should be at least a heaven-rank initial stage expert. Let's go see. Lin Yi gritted his teeth. Since he was here, Lin Yi didn't want to leave the treasure in the cave, and he was worried about the person in the cave. Since the decision was made, Lin Yi didn't linger any longer. He strode towards the cave. The path to the mountaintop was easy, and Lin Yi sped towards the cave. Not far from the cave, the sounds of battle were getting clearer and clearer, and the energy coming from the cave made Lin Yi feel a pressure he'd never felt before. At this moment, Lin Yi finally understood that the person fighting here was definitely not just a Sky-class early phase. It was very likely that he was a Sky-class late phase or even a Sky-class late phase peak. Even standing at the entrance of the cave, Lin Yi couldn't help but feel a chill run down his spine. That powerful aura wasn't something he could handle. Taking a deep breath, Lin Yi wanted to give up. But since he was here, he wasn't willing to not take a look. After hesitating for a moment, Lin Yi carefully walked towards the cave. When he arrived at the entrance of the cave, the first thing that caught Lin Yi's eyes was a huge spirit beast. This spirit beast was abnormally huge, even bigger than any spirit beast Lin Yi had seen before. Its body length alone was a full 10 meters. It had 4 sturdy claws, a long tail, a long neck, and on its back, there was a row of hard sword-like teeth. If it wasn't for the fact that Lin Yi had seen too many strange spirit beasts, he would have thought that he had returned to the Jurassic or Cretaceous period. Because this was clearly a dinosaur, although Lin Yi couldn't tell what dinosaur it was, no matter its size or appearance, it was a living dinosaur. Looking at the strength of this spirit beast, Lin Yi was shocked. This was actually a spirit beast with the strength of the Great Perfection late stage of Heaven stage. This was a spirit beast whose cultivation was infinitely close to the heavenly Tao. Moreover, it seemed to be a spirit beast with super strong attack power. What Lin Yi didn't expect was that along with the howl of this dinosaur, it actually spat out a ball of fire from its mouth. This was actually a mutated dinosaur that could spit fire. In a blink of an eye, the target of the ball of fire was a human cultivator. What surprised Lin Yi was that the human cultivator was actually a young girl. That curvaceous body, that light yellow tight miniskirt. Lin Yi was quite taken aback. He didn't think that it would be a female practitioner fighting the dinosaur. The girl in the yellow dress quickly formed a seal with her hands, activating some sort of martial art. A strong light shot out of her hands like a pillar of water, hitting the ball of fire, as expected of a Sky-class late phase peak master. Lin Yi was shocked as he tried to recall if there was a master as strong as this among the people who participated in the trial. But the Sky Elixir Sects test was different from the Ice Palaces test. During the registration, Kang Ming didn't check the strength of the applicants one by one, nor did he reveal their background. So, only those who were familiar with each other would know about the others. Lin Yi was the same. He was busy talking with Feng Shipian, Li Siba, Ji Xian, Chikuan, and Yang Chichi. He didn't pay attention to the others, so Lin Yi really didn't have much of an impression of this girl. Boom! The sound of thunder exploded in Lin Yi's ears once more. Since the distance was too close, the sound seemed to be transmitted into Lin Yi's body, making Lin Yi's legs tremble. Too strong. The ball of flame and the water column collided, producing a huge collision of energy. That was also the reason why the loud sound came out. The dinosaur roared again, not stopping. From its mouth, it spat out another huge ball of energy, but this time it wasn't a fire, it was a ball of water. This shocked Lin Yi. Just what kind of spirit beast was this? It was spitting fire just now, and now it was spitting water. Was this spirit beast a fire or a water element? However, if Lin Yi was shocked at this moment, then he was completely confused in the next moment. This girl, the girl who had just released the water pillar technique, actually pointed at the water ball with her right hand, and a fireball shot out from her fingertip. Boom! The sound of thunder rang out once more, but this time, Lin Yi didn't move. He was in a state of confusion. Lin Yi couldn't figure out the attributes of this spirit beast, and this girl's attributes were driving Lin Yi crazy as well. The ball of water and the fireball collided once more, and after a huge explosion, they slowly dissipated. Chapter 2799. But now, the dinosaur didn't seem to be doing anything, but the girl was starting to get tired. Oink oink! The pig's cry reminded Lin Yi that he wasn't here to watch the fight, but to search for treasures. It seemed like the treasure the pig was referring to was in this cave. The pig's cry was far from the dinosaur's roar and the thunderous sound of the energy collision, but it still caught the girl's attention. She turned to the entrance of the cave and saw Lin Yi. This was the first time Lin Yi saw the girl's face, and it made him hold his breath. Even though Lin Yi had a lot of beauties around him, he was still deeply shocked by the girl's beauty. How could there be such a beauty in this world? It wasn't that Meng Yaro and Yu Shu weren't beautiful, but the girl in front of him had an indescribable aura around her. It was a feeling that deeply attracted Lin Yi. Although Bingtang was also a sky-class late-phase peak beauty, compared to the girl in front of him, Bingtang's aura was cold and not aura. The girl evidently didn't expect someone to come at this time. She paused and said, "You are also a participant this time, right? Can you help me? We'll hold this beast together, we just need 10 more minutes. Why should I help you?" Lin Yi didn't let the girl's beauty get to his head. The girl was beautiful, but Lin Yi wasn't the type of person who would get dizzy after seeing a beauty. This beast was clearly very dangerous, and even the girl, a sky-class late-phase peak, couldn't do anything about it. Wouldn't he be seeking death if he went? "I have 2 herbs for the trial in my bag. If you help me, I can give you one as a reward," the girl said. "Oh." Lin Yi was hesitating when the dinosaur made another move. Evidently, the dinosaur had noticed Lin Yi as well, but perhaps it thought that Lin Yi was weak, or that Lin Yi hadn't entered the cave yet, so the beast didn't turn to attack Lin Yi. As Lin Yi and the girl were talking, the dinosaur spat out another. More accurately, it had a metallic glow to it. Lin Yi froze. This beast spat out water and fire, and now it spat out a metallic energy ball. Just what kind of element was this beast? The girl didn't have time to say anything to Lin Yi. She hurriedly activated a technique as well, and a beam of golden light shot out from the girl's hands, wrapping around the golden energy ball. The two fused together, enlarging and exploding. At this moment, Lin Yi really couldn't figure out where the dinosaur and the girl came from. It wasn't strange for the beast to be able to use metal, water, and fire attribute skills, but the girl could also use metal, fire, and water attribute skills. This was simply outrageous to Lin Yi. Could it be that this girl was a tri-attribute cultivator? Just as Lin Yi was puzzled, suddenly, a multicolored light emitted from inside the cave. This was the same multicolored light that Lin Yi saw from afar. When he reached the entrance of the cave, Lin Yi was still puzzled as to why he didn't see the same multicolored light in the cave. He didn't expect that the same multicolored light would appear inside the cave at this moment. "Awoo!" the dinosaur roared angrily, and Lin Yi was shocked. This roar was far louder than the previous roars, as if the dinosaur was angry. However, what puzzled Lin Yi was that after the dinosaur roared, it didn't use any skills. Instead, it just stood there, motionless. Looking at the girl again, her face was full of shock. However, there was a hint of relief on her face, as if she had achieved some kind of goal. This strange situation, no matter how one looked at it, was incomparably strange. Lin Yi didn't know what was happening, and he wanted to leave. However, the multicolored light emitted from the cave seemed to have a mind of its own, calling out to Lin Yi, "Come in. Come in quickly." Lin Yi's legs seemed to be guided by something involuntarily, and he walked into the cave. Cold sweat immediately dripped from Lin Yi's forehead. This was the first time he encountered such a strange situation. He couldn't control his legs. It must be said that it was normal to not be able to move one's legs after being frightened, But this was the first time Lin Yi encountered a situation where his legs were walking on their own. However, Lin Yi couldn't stop now even if he wanted to. He was attracted into the cave, and he was about to approach the dinosaur. Stop, stop. Lin Yi's forehead was covered in cold sweat. If he passed by the dinosaur and it threw a fireball at him, wouldn't he die on the spot? However, Lin Yi couldn't control his legs. 1 step, 2 steps. Lin Yi was getting closer and closer to the dinosaur. However, when Lin Yi passed by the dinosaur didn't even look at Lin Yi. It was still angrily staring at the source of the multicolored light in the depths of the cave. Until Lin Yi walked past the dinosaur didn't react at all. Lin Yi's heart suddenly relaxed, but his legs still couldn't control him as he walked deeper into the cave. He was about to reach the place where the girl was just now. At this time, just as Lin Yi was about to say something to the girl, the multicolored light in the depths of the cave suddenly became dazzling and dazzling. That dazzling light instantly enveloped the entire cave. Lin Yi's vision turned into a multicolored light in an instant. He couldn't see anything else. Even the girl and the dinosaur that were right in front of him disappeared. That multicolored light didn't seem to be as simple as light. In the next moment, Lin Yi felt that the multicolored light seemed to be an invisible pressure that invaded Lin Yi's body from the depths of the cave. It made Lin Yi's body feel a stabbing pain. This feeling was like something was about to enter his body. It was like a sign before a breakthrough, but it was also completely different. That multicolored light was like true energy that entered Lin Yi's body bit by bit. The stabbing pain became more and more intense. Chapter 2800. After Lin Yi confirmed that the light wouldn't harm him, Lin Yi closed his eyes and stood there. Since he couldn't resist, he might as well enjoy it quietly. 5-element sect. Patriarch Xian Zhen's expression wasn't good. Xian Chen, why didn't you tell me that you wanted her to participate in the trial? Don't you know that it's very dangerous? And the place she's going to is the most dangerous of all dangers. Patriarch Xian Zhen frowned as he looked at Patriarch Xian Chen. Second senior brother, she's going to accept the inheritance. This is for the great plan of our 5-element sect. Patriarch Xian Chen smiled. I know she's your proud disciple, but have you thought about it? If you stop her from accepting the inheritance just because she's your disciple, will you be able to face the ancestors of our 5-element sect? This. Patriarch Xian Zhen was speechless. Indeed, compared to the inheritance, nothing was as important. But you should have told me. I need to be prepared, even if I didn't say it, second senior brother already knows. Patriarch Xian Chen smiled. It seems that second senior brother has a lot of connections in the Heavenly Elixir sect. You're quite well informed. Patriarch Xian Zhen's heart skipped a beat. He suddenly felt that he had said too much. However, from what Patriarch Xian Chen said, it seemed that he already knew that Patriarch Xian Zhen had a close relationship with the Heavenly Elixir sect. Sigh, so many Earth rank and Heaven rank trial takers have been sacrificed for the great plan of our sect. How can I bear to do that? Patriarch Xian Zhen sighed. I'm not just worried about her safety. I'm more worried about the lives of those cultivators. The Heavenly Elixir sect's trial isn't forced to participate. If they die, they can only blame themselves for not being strong enough. Who can they blame? Patriarch Xian Chen didn't care. Sigh, it's not easy for cultivators to cultivate to this level. They have suffered countless hardships to advance to this level. If they die just like that. Patriarch Xian Zhen said helplessly. Second senior brother, you're too benevolent. How can those who do great things be soft-hearted? For the sake of our Heavenly Elixir sect's grand plan, even if we sacrifice all the ancient sects, so what? Patriarch Xian Chen said indifferently. Sigh. Ancestor Xian Zhen didn't agree with Ancestor Xuanshen's approach, but he couldn't say anything. Firstly, his authority in the Heavenly Elixir sect wasn't as high as Ancestor Xian Chen, so it was useless for him to say anything. Secondly, Ancestor Xian Chen always used the 5-element sect's grand plan to suppress him, so he couldn't say anything else. Alright, second senior, although she is your disciple, she is also my spy. I'm more worried than you. Patriarch Xian Chen still had use for Patriarch Xian Zhen, so he naturally wouldn't offend him too much. Thus, he consoled, Actually, if you want to blame someone for this, it's the person who crippled Targanlong. If it weren't for him, why would we need to use a spy? XD Senior Patriarch T do long as XD long get XD well as he got the blame. Well, ancestor well XT well. Hihi, in my eyes, whoever is weak is to be blamed, Patriarch Shen Chen said. Patriarch Shen Zhen didn't say anything else. He knew it was useless to say anything else. Heavenly Elixir Sect. Kang Ming rushed back with Tianji. Although Kang Ming didn't show up the next day, he was waiting for Tianji at the inn. When Tianji returned, they would return to the Heavenly Elixir Sect together. Big Brother Kang, the young sect master is looking for you. As soon as Kang Ming returned, he was stopped by Little Peach. Ah! The young sect master is looking for me. I'll be right there. Kang Ming didn't even bother to go to the toilet. He went to the courtyard where the silkworm transformation was located with Little Peach. Big Brother Kang, the young master doesn't seem to be in a good mood these 2 days. Little Peach went to serve him, but was driven out by him. You have to be careful in a while. Don't anger the young master. Little Peach reminded him on the way. Oh, really? Then I'll have to be careful. Kang Jiaoming quickly nodded and remembered it in his heart. I don't know why the young master is so angry. What should I pay attention to later? Actually, it's nothing. The young sect master will be in a bad mood for a few days every month. Little Peach didn't continue. How many days a month do you feel down? It's not like a woman is on her period. Why would he be in a bad mood? Kang Ming asked curiously. Sure. Little Peach's face changed and she was shocked. Big Brother Kang, don't talk nonsense. Be careful of getting yourself killed. You slandering the young sect master is a capital offense. I know. Kang Ming was also shocked. He looked around and said, aren't I telling you now? I don't dare to say it to others. Ian. Little Peach nodded and said, generally, at the end of every month, when the people below report the medicinal pill sales data, the young sect master will be in a bad mood. Don't guess randomly. I understand. Kang Ming quickly nodded and said yes. Huh. But, it doesn't seem to be the end of the month now. Little Peach was also a little confused. She shook her head and said, don't ask so much. Kang Ming nodded and no longer asked. The two people came to the courtyard where Heavenly Silkworm Transformation was located. It was still the courtyard from before. Little Peach knocked on the door and said to the inside, young sect master, Elder Kang is here. Oh, invite him in. In the courtyard room, Heavenly Silkworm Transformations in different voice came. Yes. Little Peach hurriedly pushed the door open and walked into the courtyard with Kang Ming and entered the room. Little Peach, you go make tea. Heavenly Silkworm Transformation seemed to be reading something. After Kang Ming and Little Peach came in, he put the book in his hand aside and then instructed Little Peach. Yes, young sect master. Little Peach hurriedly went to make tea. Huh. Young sect master, I haven't seen you for a few days. You seem to have become much more handsome. Kang Ming raised his head and met Heavenly Silkworm Transformation's gaze. He felt that Heavenly Silkworm Transformation seemed to have become much more handsome after not seeing him for a few days. He was originally prepared to carry shoes for Heavenly Silkworm Transformation, so he naturally wouldn't let go of this good opportunity to flatter him. However, Heavenly Silkworm Transformation frowned and interrupted Kang Ming's words. Elder Kang, let me ask you. How many Heaven Stage Trial Takers and Earth Stage Trial Takers participated in this trial? Chapter 2801. Oh, then I'll have to trouble you, Xiaoming. Silkworm Transformation nodded. It's no trouble. It's my honor to be in charge of this for you, Kang Jiaoming said as he took out a booklet from his pocket. It was the booklet he had registered before. Kang Jiaoming opened it and started counting. After a while, he said to Tian Silkworm, young master, there are a total of 24 Sky Class Masters, 19 Earth Class Masters, and 8 Mystic Class Masters. There's no need to report the Profound Stage Masters. Silkworm Transformation waved his hand and interrupted Kang Ming's words. Then he said to himself, a total of 43, 2 a day, almost 22 days. It should be enough time for them to return safely. Young master, what did you say? Kang Ming didn't understand what silkworm transformation was talking about. Nothing. Silkworm transformation shook his head and looked relieved. He said to Kang Ming, Xiaoming, don't mention what I asked you just now to anyone. Don't worry, young master. I'm your dog. If you don't let me bark, I won't dare to. Kang Ming said quickly. That's good. Silkworm transformation nodded and said, I'm a little tired. Xiaoming can also see that young master seems to be a little tired. Do you want me to give you a massage? Kang Ming asked. Massage? Silkworm transformation was stunned. He hesitated but didn't answer immediately. Young master, do you forget that Xiaoming's massage skill was taught by Xianzhen ancestor? It's very good. Kang Ming saw Silkworm transformation's hesitation and felt that there was a chance. Oh, okay, Xiaoming, come on. Silkworm transformation nodded, indicating that Kang Ming could give him a massage. When Kang Ming saw that the silkworm transformation had agreed, he was overjoyed. He thought to himself, sure enough, hard work pays off. As long as you have perseverance, you can grind an iron bar into a needle. He quickly got up and carefully stood behind the silkworm transformation, massaging his head and shoulders. Little Peach went to brew some tea and walked into the room with the tea tray. Suddenly, she saw Kang Ming massaging heavenly silkworm transformation. She was so shocked that she almost dropped the tea tray in her hand. She was shocked in her heart. Kang Ming was really bold. He actually dared to massage heavenly silkworm transformation. What was even stranger was why Silkworm Change agreed to have Kang Ming massage him. However, when Little Peach saw that heavenly silkworm transformation seemed to appreciate Kang Ming, she was happy and worried. She placed the tea tray on the table and said, Young master, the tea is ready. Oh, Xiaoming, your massage is almost done. Drink some tea. I'm going to read too. As heavenly silkworm transformation spoke, he picked up the book beside his hand. It was a book on alchemy. Then Xiaoming won't disturb young master. Xiaoming will leave first. How could Kang Ming dare to drink tea? He knew that heavenly silkworm transformation was just being polite by asking him to drink tea. Heavenly silkworm transformation had already gone to read, so why would he drink tea? Oh, then Little Peach, help me send Xiaoming off. Heavenly silkworm transformation waved his hand and said to Little Peach, then find something to do. I want to read by myself. Yes. Little Peach quickly agreed and left heavenly silkworm transformation's room with Kang Ming. When the two of them left the courtyard together, Little Peach breathed a sigh of relief and said, Brother Kang, why are you so bold to massage young master? I was just asking. I didn't expect young master to agree. Kang Ming was also a little puzzled and said, Is it because young master thinks that I'm reliable and thinks highly of me? It's possible, but you still have to be careful. Little Peach also felt that it was a little strange. Don't worry, young master seems to be very happy. When I become his confidant, I will propose marriage to him. Kang Ming said, at that time, we will both be his confidant. This. Okay. Little Peach wanted to say something more, but she was fascinated by Kang Ming's proposal. She was looking forward to it. In the cave, the colorful light had been flickering for a long time. According to Lin Yi's estimation, it was at least a day and a night, or even longer. However, this feeling of pain and happiness made Lin Yi feel comfortable. The light seemed to be nourishing the meridians in Lin Yi's body, but it didn't seem to be meridians. Lin Yi didn't know what it was, but it made him feel very comfortable. At this moment, he felt like he was in a mysterious space, and the time around him seemed to have stopped. He didn't know how much time had passed, but the light in front of him gradually dimmed, and he returned to reality from the mysterious state he was in before. A beautiful face appeared in front of Lin Yi. It was the beautiful woman in the cave before. Only then did Lin Yi realize that he was so close to her. The two of them were almost face to face, and they were about to touch. Lin Yi could see the beautiful woman, and the beautiful woman could naturally see Lin Yi. She was also shocked by Lin Yi, who suddenly appeared in front of her. She exclaimed in surprise, Ah! Lin Yi just wanted to explain that he couldn't help it. He was about to take 2 steps back, but he didn't expect a loud roar to suddenly come from behind Lin Yi. Roar! The dinosaur seemed to have returned to its normal state, and suddenly let out an angry roar. A powerful energy flow directly pushed Lin Yi to the body of the beautiful woman in front of him. Lin Yi opened his mouth to speak, and the beautiful woman was also stunned, so the 2 mouths of Lin Yi and the beautiful woman were facing each other. The strong energy flow pushed the 2 to the ground, just like how Lin Yi had pounced on the girl. Both of them had just recovered from the shock, and hadn't used their arts to protect themselves yet, so they fell to the ground easily. The 2 of them kissed, and this feeling couldn't help but make Lin Yi stunned. He didn't expect that the 2 of them would meet in such an ambiguous scene. However, this wonderful feeling made Lin Yi's heart instantly moved. Although it was the first time they met, anyone would be moved by such a beautiful woman full of spiritual energy. Ooh! The girl's body trembled. She also didn't expect this scene to appear in front of her. She pushed Lin Yi away and glared at Lin Yi. You still don't want to get up? Chapter 2802. The girl glared at Lin Yi, feeling a little embarrassed. This was her first kiss, and she didn't expect to lose it here. However, although she was angry, she didn't forget what was happening in front of her. Although the Light of 5 Evils was successfully activated, she didn't expect the Dragon of 5 Evils to return to the cave early. She didn't know whether the inheritance was successful or not. Moreover, the most important thing now was how to successfully escape from here. Looking at the Dragon of 5 Evils, it was obviously extremely angry. Its eyes had turned red, as if it was going to swallow someone. Be careful. The beautiful girl didn't have time to blame Lin Yi at this moment. She saw the Dragon of 5 Evils spit out a fireball, which smashed right at Lin Yi's back. Boom! Lin Yi didn't have time to dodge and was hit by the Dragon of 5 Evils fireball. Suddenly, the skin on Lin Yi's back was torn open. This was even after Lin Yi heard the beautiful girl's reminder and quickly circulated the mantra to protect his body. Otherwise, even if Lin Yi didn't die, it would be hard for him to survive. Even so, Lin Yi's back was still hit until it caved in. If it was a normal cultivator, they probably wouldn't be able to survive. The beautiful girl also took advantage of this moment to climb up from under Lin Yi's body. She glanced at Lin Yi, and a trace of sympathy flashed in her eyes. Just now, when the Dragon of 5 Evils suddenly activated its skill, if it wasn't for Lin Yi blocking in front of her, perhaps she wouldn't have been able to dodge it in a short time. Even if her strength was higher than Lin Yi's and she wasn't beaten so badly, she probably wouldn't have been able to escape in a short time. Therefore, the beautiful girl's heart was still filled with gratitude towards Lin Yi. If it wasn't for him blocking, she would have been in danger today. Therefore, when Lin Yi forcefully kissed her before, the beautiful girl didn't have much resistance and dissatisfaction in her heart. At this time, the beautiful woman also put her palms together and formed a seal. She suddenly pushed them out, and a strange light shot out from her hands towards the 5 Evils dragon. Lin Yi took this opportunity to quickly crawl to a safe place on the side. He quickly activated the second stage of the Art of Dragon Mastery, preparing to heal his injuries. His injuries were too severe. If he didn't heal in time, he might die. When Lin Yi saw the beautiful woman going to fight the 5 Evils dragon, he heaved a sigh of relief. However, at the same time, he suddenly felt that the martial technique that the beautiful woman had executed was somewhat familiar. However, because Lin Yi had hurriedly dodged to the side, he did not see it clearly. Moreover, Lin Yi was in a rush to recover from his injuries, so he did not have the time to think about it. Boom! The beautiful woman's martial skill exploded on the 5 Evils dragon's body. The 5 Evils dragon retreated 2 steps and roared furiously. Its voice was filled with rage. It seemed that the beautiful woman's martial skill had angered it, and the martial skill that she had used was most likely an ultimate martial skill. Roar! The 5 Evils dragon had clearly lost its patience. Previously, it had only activated its martial skill. Perhaps it had the mentality of teaching the beautiful woman a lesson, but perhaps because the beautiful woman's martial skill was very powerful, it did not want to continue fighting with her. It stretched out its claws and clawed at the beautiful woman. The beautiful woman cried out in alarm. Even if she was a peak late-stage heaven-class expert, She was no match for the Five Evils dragon in terms of size and speed. She was instantly caught by the Five Evils dragon's claws, and the Five Evils dragon's nails directly pierced into the beautiful woman's chest. The beautiful woman's face immediately turned pale. It seemed that the Five Evils dragon had not used its full strength before. What happened afterwards had angered the Five Evils dragon, so it lost its patience and directly grabbed the beautiful woman. Although Lin Yi wanted to help, he could not even take care of himself right now. How could he have the time to save the beautiful woman? Moreover, even if he did save her, Lin Yi was no match for the Five Evils dragon. Even a peak late-stage heaven-class expert's martial skill was ineffective against the Five Evils dragon. How could Lin Yi defeat it? The Five Evils dragon was obviously not stupid. It grabbed the beautiful woman and went all the way to the entrance of the cave. It grabbed the beautiful woman's claw and spun it a few times in the air. Then, it let go. The beautiful woman was like a cannonball. With a whoosh, she was thrown towards the back of the mountain and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The corner of Lin Yi's mouth twitched. At this moment, he realized that a peak late-stage heaven-class cultivator was helpless and insignificant in front of a powerful spiritual beast. Especially in front of such a huge spiritual beast. Lin Yi finally understood why the trial map had specially marked this place as an extremely dangerous place. With the Five Evils dragon here, perhaps only a heavenly Dao expert could go against it. After the beautiful woman was thrown away, the Five Evils dragon turned around and walked step by step towards Lin Yi in the cave. Lin Yi's forehead instantly broke out in a cold sweat. However, there was nothing he could do at this moment. Not to mention that Lin Yi was heavily injured. Even if he was not, he would not be a match for the Five Evils dragon. If it was a blessing, it would not be a disaster. If it was a disaster, he could not avoid it. Lin Yi carried this kind of fearless attitude and continued to madly use the second level of the art of dragon mastery to heal his injuries. However, the Five Evils dragon had no intention of letting Lin Yi go. It reached out and grabbed Lin Yi. However, Lin Yi was luckier than the beautiful woman. The Five Evils dragon's nails did not pierce into Lin Yi's body. Then, the Five Evils dragon turned its body nimbly and grabbed Lin Yi, walking towards the entrance of the cave. It seemed that he was most likely going to end up like the beautiful woman and become a flying man. Lin Yi smiled bitterly and looked at Skybolt Pig, who was at the entrance of the cave. At this moment, this little fellow was saying something to the Five Evils dragon. However, the Five Evils dragon obviously had no intention of paying attention to him. It was annoyed by Skybolt Pig's words. It reached out and grabbed Skybolt Pig and Lin Yi together. Just like before, it swung its claws twice and with a whoosh, it threw both Lin Yi and Skybolt Pig towards the back of the mountain. All Lin Yi could hear was the sound of the wind. He was flying towards the valley at the back of the mountain at an extremely fast speed. Lin Yi did not dare to slow down. Although the Five Evils dragon did not use any skills, its terrifying speed was already too much for Lin Yi to bear. If he did not use his true chi to protect his body, he would probably become a pile of minced meat. Skybolt Pig, be careful when you land later. Don't forget to use your true chi to protect your body. Otherwise, both of us will die. Lin Yi reminded as he flew. GG. Skybolt Pig nodded. Chapter 2803. Originally, Lin Yi was already severely injured. Now that he was thrown by the Five Evils dragon, he was forced into the space of the jade pendant. Lin Yi's injuries were too severe. At this moment, he couldn't care less about Skybolt Pig and the beautiful woman's injuries. Lin Yi could only heal his own injuries first. After entering the space of the jade pendant, Lin Yi quickly activated the second stage of the art of dragon mastery to heal his internal injuries. Time was always slow when it came to healing, especially when he was worried about Skybolt Pig and the girl's safety. All he could do was increase the speed of his practitioner's arts, as fast as he could, to heal himself as fast as he could. However, what Lin Yi didn't expect was that the mental cultivation method was circulating faster and faster. It was like a speeding car that was out of control. It was getting faster and faster. It was so fast that it was frightening. Lin Yi quickly slowed down the circulation speed of the mental cultivation method. However, even though Lin Yi slowed down the circulation speed of the mental cultivation method, In reality, the circulation speed of the mental cultivation method did not slow down at all. Moreover, Lin Yi realized that the huge amount of vital energy in the space of the jade pendant was rushing into his body from all directions. This sudden change shocked Lin Yi. What's going on? I just want to heal my injuries quickly. Why does it feel like I'm losing control of my mental cultivation method? Is this a sign of qi deviation? However, this feeling gave Lin Yi a familiar feeling. It seemed like he had experienced this before. The vital energy surged endlessly into Lin Yi's body. In an instant, Lin Yi felt like his body was about to explode. However, there was nothing he could do. He had already stopped the circulation of the mental cultivation method, but it was of no use. Cold sweat broke out on Lin Yi's forehead. What's going on? Could it be that I really have qi deviation? Lin Yi asked anxiously. Jiao Lao, what's going on? I can't control my true qi. What should I do? What should we do? Jiao Yazi glanced at Lin Yi and said indifferently, Isn't this normal? Very normal. Lin Yi was stunned. He was about to die from anxiety. Jiao Yazi actually used such a calm tone to talk to him. It was simply frightening. Yeah, aren't you going to break through soon? This is a good thing. Why are you so scared? Jiao Yazi said indifferently. What? Breakthrough? Haven't I only been an Earth class late phase for a few days? Lin Yi was even more stunned. He had just broken through to the late stage of Earth class, and hadn't even touched the barrier to the full circle. How could he have broken through? Wasn't this a little too fast? Who told you that you're about to break through to late Earth class? Jiao Yazi rolled his eyes and said, I'm talking about your art of dragon mastery. You're about to break through to the second stage and reach the full circle of the second stage. Phut. Cough, cough. Lin Yi was so shocked by Jiao Yazi's words that he almost vomited blood. He was just about to ask when he suddenly remembered the first time he entered the space in the jade pendant. Indeed, when he broke through to the full circle of the first stage, the feeling was very similar to what he was feeling now. No wonder Lin Yi felt that it was familiar. It was the first time he broke through his practitioner's heart. It had been a long time, and Lin Yi had been breaking through in terms of strength the whole time, not his practitioner's heart, so he'd forgotten about it. Thinking of this, Lin Yi finally calmed down and allowed the energy around him to flow into his body. At this moment, Lin Yi's body was like a magnet, constantly absorbing the energy around him. The energy in Lin Yi's body was increasing, and gradually, Lin Yi felt that his body could no longer withstand the huge amount of energy. Then, his whole body exploded like a firecracker. With a loud bang, the clothes on his body instantly turned into charred pieces, flying in all directions. Breakthrough. Lin Yi didn't think that he would reach the full circle of the second stage of the art of dragon mastery so quickly. Originally, this was something that would make Lin Yi jealous and have a headache, but he didn't expect to break through while he was healing. But, that's not right. Didn't they say that the prerequisite for breaking through to the full circle of the second stage of the art of dragon mastery was to convert the 5 elements in his body into real elements? But he didn't accept the inheritance, so how did it become real? Thinking of this, Lin Yi couldn't be bothered to enjoy the pleasure of breaking through, and quickly asked Jiao Yazi, Jiao Lao, the virtual elements in my body haven't been converted into real elements, so how did I break through to the full circle of the second stage of the art of dragon mastery? Of course. You now have the 5 elements of real elements, except for the mist and ice elements. But this won't affect the breakthrough of the second stage of the art of dragon mastery, because those 2 elements are sub-elements, so there's no need to convert them for now. Jiao Yazi said. Ah, already converted? When did it happen? Don't I have to go to the place of inheritance to accept the inheritance? Lin Yi was stunned, and felt that it was a little strange. When did he accept the inheritance? Just now. Jiao Yazi said. Just now. Lin Yi was stunned, and suddenly remembered the strange thing that happened in the cave. At that time, he seemed to be in a strange and mysterious state. Could it be, that was the inheritance? But even if it was the inheritance, it wouldn't be the inheritance of 5 elements at once. The 5 elements were converted into real elements at the same time. This made Lin Yi feel like he was dreaming. When I was in the cave. That's the time. Jiao Yazi nodded and said, Although I also don't know why you accepted the inheritance there is indeed the origin of the 5 elements there. Could it be that the land of 5 evils means the 5 elements? Lin Yi frowned. Previously, the characteristics of the qi of 5 evils seemed to be similar to the qi of the 5 elements. Could it be that he accidentally came to the land of 5 evils and accepted the inheritance? I'm not sure about this. Jiao Yazi said, I haven't been here either, but one thing is for sure, you have accepted the inheritance. Why do you still want to find out why you accepted the inheritance? Chapter 2804. Although Lin Yi's inheritance was fundamentally different from theirs, since Lin Yi could inherit it, they should also be able to inherit it. No. Lin Yi suddenly thought of a very important question. Jiao Lao, even if I can inherit the 5 elemental origin energy here, isn't there a prerequisite for inheriting the 5 elemental origin energy? That is, I have to make a series of complicated preparations, unlike normal inheritors who only need to comprehend the inheritance themselves. I didn't make any preparations, right? You didn't do it, but it doesn't mean that others didn't. Jiao Yazi said faintly, maybe it was done by that dinosaur or that little girl. They. After being reminded by Jiao Yazi, Lin Yi suddenly thought of an incomparably important matter. It was that beautiful girl's ultimate killing technique. At that time, Lin Yi felt that it was a little familiar, but because he was injured, he didn't have time to think about it. But now that he thought about it, Lin Yi suddenly felt that this technique was actually a little similar to his own technique. Yes, this is the 5 elements 8 trigrams palm. Connecting this to the strange brilliance on the girl's palm, Lin Yi suddenly thought of the scene when Tagan Long activated the technique. This girl actually knows the 5 elements 8 trigrams palm. This discovery made Lin Yi's heart jump. Could this girl be from the Tagan family? Perhaps, she's Tagan Long's sister. However, she could also be from the 5 elements sect and had nothing to do with the Tagan family. However, no matter which force the girl belonged to, whether it was the Tagan family or the 5 elements sect, she was still Lin Yi's enemy. Thinking of this, Lin Yi was a little hesitant. Should he save her or not? Lin Yi didn't want to save an enemy to deal with him for no reason. Although the beautiful girl was very beautiful, the poisonous mushroom was also very beautiful. If he ate it, he would die. When the art of dragon mastery reached the 2nd level, Lin Yi realized that his injuries were all healed. Lin Yi quickly returned to reality from the space in the jade pendant and saw Skybolt Pig anxiously guarding Lin Yi. Hey! Skybolt Pig, are you alright? Lin Yi looked at Skybolt Pig in shock. Skybolt Pig didn't seem to be injured at all. Gigi. Skybolt Pig nodded and wrote on the soft ground with his paw, my fur will stand up and it will act as a buffer. After he finished writing, the Skybolt Pig purposely stood up for Lin Yi to see. Then, he bounced on the ground. This made Lin Yi speechless. This Skybolt Pig could even turn into an elastic ball. No wonder nothing happened. How's the girl? Lin Yi's heart was currently in a dilemma about the beautiful girl in yellow. Should he save her or not? If he saved her, Lin Yi was afraid that this person would turn against him and refuse to save her. Lin Yi thought about how he forcefully kissed her and how she reminded him when the 5 evils dragon attacked him. If it wasn't for her warning, he wouldn't have been able to activate the incantation in time to protect his body. If it wasn't for her warning, his injuries would have been even more severe. He didn't even know if he could have survived the fall from the valley. In a sense, the girl was Lin Yi's savior. If Lin Yi didn't save her, he wouldn't be able to bear it. Gigi. Skybolt Pig stretched out his paw and pointed in a direction not far away. Oh, you mean, she's over there? Let's go and take a look. Lin Yi stood up and walked with Skybolt Pig in the direction it pointed. As he walked, Lin Yi observed the place he was at. This was the valley behind the 5 Evils Mountain. Lin Yi looked up and saw that he had fallen from the 5 Evils mountain range. His face changed instantly. This was a valley that couldn't be climbed. The mountain wall in front of him was extremely smooth. There wasn't even a foothold to climb. It wouldn't have mattered if the mountain was a bit short. Lin Yi was an Earth-class late-phase master, after all. He could jump up and try a few more times, and he would be able to reach the top. But this mountain was too high. and there was no way he could jump up. This mountain range was endless. Lin Yi didn't know if there was an end to it. At least, from the looks of it, Lin Yi couldn't go up. On the other side of the mountain range was a vast open space. Lin Yi didn't know what was on that side. In short, he couldn't see the end of it. This made Lin Yi's heart go cold. That dinosaur from before was really bad. It actually threw him into such a remote place. Even if he didn't fall to his death, he wouldn't be able to go back. He would be trapped to death here. At first, Lin Yi was thinking about whether or not he should save the beautiful woman. But now, it seemed that one more person meant one more strength. Lin Yi still didn't know how to escape from here. Having another heaven-class late-phase master by his side was always a good thing. Moreover, if he didn't say anything, the beautiful woman wouldn't know that he was her enemy. Let's get out of this place first. Then we'll go our separate ways. Following the direction that Skybolt Pig pointed, Lin Yi found the beautiful woman in the yellow dress in a pile of rubble. Looking at her, the beautiful woman in the yellow dress didn't suffer any other injuries except for the fatal wound on her chest. However, the girl's originally ruddy face was now extremely pale. It was enough to show that her injuries were not light. It seemed that when she fell down the cliff, she used the mantra to protect her body. That was why she didn't fall from such a high place without being smashed into meat paste. However, because she used all of her true chi to protect her body, she didn't seal the wound on her chest, causing her internal injuries to worsen. Lin Yi bent down and checked the girl's breath. She was still breathing, which made Lin Yi heave a sigh of relief. The beautiful woman in the yellow dress didn't die. Lin Yi began to check her injuries. Originally, Lin Yi thought that as long as he used the second level of the Art of Dragon Mastery to heal her internal injuries, it would be fine. But when Lin Yi took a closer look, he found that something was wrong. On the chest of the beautiful woman, there was a white dinosaur nail fragment that had pierced into her heart. It was so deep that it had almost pierced through her entire chest. If he didn't remove the dinosaur nail fragment, then even if Lin Yi used the Art of Dragon Mastery, he wouldn't be able to heal the beautiful woman's injuries. After all, it was an external obstruction. Chapter 2805. Therefore, in order to ensure that the beautiful woman could hold on, Lin Yi decided to heal her injuries first. Once the injury on her chest was healed, he could cut her open and take out the dinosaur nail. Anyway, she was a heaven stage practitioner. If she couldn't bear this little pain, how could she have the strength of a heaven stage practitioner? Thinking of this, Lin Yi didn't waste any time. He directly grasped the veins on the beautiful woman's wrists and quickly used the Art of Dragon Mastery. In an instant, Lin Yi's true chi surged into the beautiful woman's body. What Lin Yi didn't expect was that after the second stage of the Art of Dragon Mastery reached perfection, the healing speed was so fast. It was more than a third faster than before. Lin Yi was immediately overjoyed. This way, when he fought with a heaven stage practitioner, whether he was injured in battle or recovering his true chi after using a big move, he would be able to heal much faster than before. This was a life-saving measure. In fact, the yellow dress beautiful woman's injuries weren't as serious as Lin Yi's. Lin Yi was hit by the dinosaur's skill, but the yellow dress beautiful woman only had her chest pierced by it. In comparison, Lin Yi's injuries were more serious. However, the yellow dress beautiful woman's injuries were already very serious in the eyes of other practitioners. A small rejuvenation pill couldn't save her, unless there was a third stage great rejuvenation pill. The beautiful woman's injuries were quickly recovering under the effect of Lin Yi's all-purpose true chi. And Lin Yi didn't have to be too nervous with the Skybolt Pig guarding him. He focused on healing the beautiful woman and didn't have to worry about the safety of the people around him. But now, it seemed that there weren't any spirit beasts in this valley. The Skybolt Pig stood beside Lin Yi lazily, looking around. Finally, the beautiful woman's injuries were all healed. Except for the dinosaur nail on her chest, all her injuries were healed. However, Lin Yi only healed her injuries. He didn't help her recover her true chi. Lin Yi wasn't familiar with her, and he didn't know if she would be hostile to him when she woke up. So, he had to wait until she woke up to determine if she was a friend or foe. After the beautiful woman's injuries were healed, Lin Yi undressed her. Although Lin Yi was a miracle doctor, He didn't have X-ray vision and hands. He couldn't perform surgery on the beautiful woman through her clothes. So, Lin Yi had to undress her chest and perform the surgery. Of course, Lin Yi could wait for the beautiful woman to wake up and do it herself. But it was very dangerous. The beautiful woman wasn't a doctor. Yi wasn't a doctor. First, it would be very difficult to perform surgery on herself. Secondly, the dinosaur nail should be pierced to the side of the beauty on the beautiful woman. Lin to be, the beautiful woman's heart to be. But, Lin Yi wasn't afraid. He could use the art of dragon mastery to heal her. So, Lin Yi decided to help her to the end. He removed the nail from her chest. But, Lin Yi was a little worried. He had to take off her clothes to heal her. What if she woke up and killed him? It wasn't that Lin Yi was overthinking, but with young Chichi as an example, Lin Yi had to be careful. With that thought, Lin Yi quickly used his finger to press on the beautiful woman's body a couple of times. One was to seal the acupuncture points on her chest, and the other was to seal her acupoints so that she wouldn't be able to move even if she woke up. The beautiful woman was a sky-class late phase peak, but she had used up most of her energy during the fight with the 5-Bane Dragon. The last bit of energy she had was used to protect her body when she fell off the cliff. Lin Yi had already checked her. She had almost no energy left in her body. Even if she woke up, she wouldn't be able to use her energy to break through the seal. Lin Yi was doing this just in case. After everything was done, Lin Yi took off the clothes on the beautiful woman's chest. She wasn't wearing a brassy, she was only wearing a piece of yellow silk. Lin Yi took a deep breath and gritted his teeth as he took off the silk. A pair of snow-white jade rabbits jumped out into Lin Yi's sight. There was a dinosaur nail in the middle of the two rabbits, but it didn't affect the beauty at all. The wound had been repaired by Lin Yi, and all that was left was a dinosaur nail. Lin Yi's breathing quickened as he looked at the beautiful scene in front of him. What surprised Lin Yi was that they really were big. They weren't as big as Yushu's, but they were big enough compared to the girls Lin Yi knew. Lin Yi couldn't understand why they didn't look this big on the outside. Was it because he was bound by the yellow silk? Lin Yi shook his head. The beautiful woman probably thought that her big breasts would affect her agility in battle, so she used the silk to bind them. With a shake of his head, Lin Yi quickly prepared for the surgery. He took out a small knife and sterilized it with pure energy before making a quick cut on the girl's chest. He'd learned from old Lin since he was young, and his knife was fast and accurate. There was no hesitation at all, and the cut he made was just big enough to pull out the dinosaur's nails. Lin Yi quickly pulled out the nail and threw it to the side before reaching his hand out to touch the beautiful woman's wound. In actuality, Lin Yi could have healed her by holding her pulse, but he didn't know why he reached out and touched it. That soft, smooth, and wonderful feeling made Lin Yi's heart skip a beat. He subconsciously used his hand to knead it a couple of times. Lin Yi didn't know why he did that, but the beauty in front of him had an indescribable attraction to him. It was just like when he first laid eyes on her at the entrance of the cave. His heart had moved a little. Lin Yi didn't understand why, but there was something about the beautiful woman in front of him that made him want to do it. However, Lin Yi was a person who had gone through strict training, and his willpower was very strong. After a short moment of lust, he suddenly remembered that there was a deep wound on the beautiful woman's chest. He hurriedly used the art of dragon mastery and started to heal the beautiful woman's injury. The beautiful woman woke up as the injuries on her body healed. She thought she was going to die, and no one knew the situation better than she did. She was thrown off the cliff by the 5-Bane's dragon with serious injuries. Even if she had chi to protect her body, if she didn't take a recover pill in time after falling, she would have died without a doubt. Chapter 2806. Therefore, even the beautiful woman herself did not think that she would be able to wake up. She felt that the functions in her body were recovering bit by bit. In a daze, it was as if someone was pinching her chest. The beautiful woman did not have any true chi in her body at all, and she was a little confused and dizzy. Therefore, even if she felt that something was wrong, she was unable to care about what had happened. It was not until Lin Yi's second level of the art of dragon mastery began to circulate and began to heal the wound on the beautiful woman's chest that the beautiful woman felt a burst of warmth in her body, causing her to wake up a little. And this time, the beautiful woman clearly felt that there was a pair of hands on her chest. The beautiful woman was shocked. She opened her eyes and saw that Lin Yi had his eyes closed and his hands on her chest. You, what are you doing? The beautiful woman subconsciously exclaimed. She wanted to slap him away, but she found that not only did she not have any true qi in her body to support her to do so, she could not even move if she wanted to. It was as if someone had sealed her acupuncture points. The beautiful woman was proficient in the art of medicine and alchemy. She knew about the human body's acupuncture points and the sealing of acupuncture points. Although she did not know how to do it, she still understood a little. She knew that there were some external cultivators who knew this kind of martial arts. However, at this moment, she did not have time to think about this. What she was thinking about now was what Lin Yi was going to do. The beautiful woman was ashamed and angry. Her beautiful eyes were wide open as she stared at Lin Yi. Her eyes could not wait to spit out flames of anger and burn Lin Yi to death. Healing your injuries. Lin Yi was also shocked when he saw that the beautiful woman had woken up. However, when he thought that her acupuncture points had been sealed by him and there was no true qi in her body, Lin Yi did not care. His hands were still on the beautiful woman's chest, healing her internal injuries. You, healing my injuries? The beautiful woman was taken aback. She was not a brainless and impulsive person. Although she was extremely angry at the moment, after being reminded by Lin Yi, the beautiful woman suddenly realized that the injuries in her body had actually healed. The beautiful woman knew exactly how badly she was injured. She glanced to the side and saw the bloody nails of the Five Evils dragon. The beautiful woman immediately understood that Lin Yi must have helped her remove the nails of the Five Evils dragon. However, even if he had helped him remove the Five Evils dragon's nails, how had he helped him heal his injuries? Could it be that he has a third-grade great revitalizing pill? Or did he discover the two great cyclic pills on him? However, the beautiful woman denied her own thoughts. It was impossible for Lin Yi to have a third-grade great revitalizing pill. Otherwise, he would not have asked Kang Ming for a third-grade great revitalizing pill. He should not have been able to refine it himself. In fact, in the cave, the beautiful woman recognized Lin Yi's identity when she first saw Lin Yi. She knew that he was Lin Yi and also knew some things about Lin Yi. The beautiful woman did not expect to meet Lin Yi here. Moreover, Lin Yi actually dared to go to the Five Evils mountain. Could it be that Lin Yi stole my two great revitalizing pills? He had taken one himself, and now he was giving himself another one? This was the only explanation the beautiful woman could think of. After all, Lin Yi had suffered serious injuries. She knew very well that he was hit by the Five Evils dragon's skill and was thrown off the cliff by the Five Evils dragon. It was already good enough that he did not fall to his death. How could he have healed her injuries? However, even if Lin Yi took away her great revitalizing pill and took it, the beautiful woman would not blame Lin Yi. On the contrary, she felt that Lin Yi was a righteous person. If it was any other cultivator, if they found a great revitalizing pill on her, they would probably eat one and then take another. They would never let her eat it. They would leave her to fend for herself. How could they waste a great revitalizing pill? Therefore, the beautiful woman was very grateful to Lin Yi. If he had not given her a great revitalizing pill, she was afraid that she would have walked on the road to hell. Yes, how else do you think you recovered? Lin Yi pretended to be extremely serious and continued to massage the beautiful woman's chest as he defended his actions. The beautiful woman's expression changed slightly. A sharp light flashed in her eyes. Originally, she was very grateful to Lin Yi, but she did not expect that Lin Yi would take the opportunity to act like a hooligan. The beautiful woman suddenly had a murderous intent in her heart. Are you healing me? My injuries were healed by the great revitalizing pill. You used your hands to touch me, and you can heal me. Do you want to die? What great revitalizing pill? Lin Yi was stunned. He also felt the beautiful woman's killing intent. However, Lin Yi was also a little annoyed. I was saving you. Although I could have saved you without touching your chest, I touched it to save you. Besides, I brought a dead person back to life. Not only do you want to repay me with your body, but you also want to kill me. In anger, Lin Yi could not help but increase the strength of his hand. You! The beautiful woman was so angry that her face turned ashen. She wanted to jump up and kill Lin Yi, but she did not have any true qi in her body. Her acupuncture points were also sealed. However, this also gave the beautiful woman time to calm down. She wanted to say that Lin Yi was taking the opportunity to act like a hooligan and take advantage of her, but at this moment, she clearly felt that there was a burst of warmth coming from Lin Yi's palm, and the injury on her chest was miraculously healing. She was a cultivator at the peak of the late stage of heaven stage. Her perception was not ordinary. The healing of the wound made her extremely shocked. After feeling this strange change, the expression on the beautiful woman's face changed from anger to astonishment. What she did not expect was that Lin Yi was really healing her. Could it be that he could heal with his hands? The beautiful woman's beautiful eyes looked at Lin Yi in shock. Did he not use the Great Revitalizing Pill? Yes, even if he used the Great Revitalizing Pill, the injuries on her body would at most heal and scab. It was impossible to grow new skin so quickly. This was not realistic. Moreover, there would still be scars on her body. After all, no matter how powerful the Great Revitalizing Pill was, the wound caused by the 5 Evils Dragon's nails was too big and too deep. It was difficult to not leave a scar. What's wrong with me? Lin Yi asked. Nothing. Thank you. The beautiful woman was a little shy. Although she felt that it was difficult for her to accept being pressed on her chest by Lin Yi was her savior. The beautiful woman was not a person who could not distinguish between good and bad. Chapter 2807. But Lin Yi wasn't the kind of person to get entangled in trivial matters. Since he knew. Lin Yi continued to heal the beautiful woman. Although it was only a wound on her chest, it was very deep. It was as if her heart had been pierced through, so it wasn't something that could be healed in a short time. The beautiful woman wanted to stop Lin Yi. She wanted to take the Great Recovery Pill herself because the feeling of Lin Yi touching her chest was really strange. It made her feel hot and shy. But the beautiful woman was a girl after all. Even if she was a peak late-stage heaven rank cultivator, she didn't want to have a scar on her body. Lin Yi's magical healing technique made the beautiful woman a bit reluctant. This was something the Great Recovery Pill couldn't replace. Moreover, the value of a Great Recovery Pill was not low. Even with her status, she only had 2 of them on her person. This was the entire stock of the sect, so she didn't want to waste a Great Recovery Pill just like that. Gritting her teeth, the beautiful woman closed her eyes and thought, since I've touched it before, it doesn't matter if it's a while longer. Time flew by quickly. Since the beautiful woman was unable to resist, she could only quietly enjoy it. Although she felt a little embarrassed at first, after a long time, this kind of numbing feeling made her breath slightly faster. This was the first time that the beautiful woman's body was touched by a man. This kind of wonderful feeling made her want to resist, but she also welcomed it. However, the beautiful woman was a rational person. After a moment of confusion, her mind regained its calmness. The pain in her chest had already disappeared. The beautiful woman opened her eyes and glanced at her chest. She found that besides the area covered by Lin Yi's palm, there was no longer any wound. And the area covered by Lin Yi's palm didn't feel any pain other than that wonderful feeling. It doesn't hurt anymore. Do you still want to continue healing? The beautiful woman couldn't help but ask. It's already healed. Lin Yi's mind was a bit lost before. He was mechanically circulating the second layer of the art of dragon mastery. After being reminded by the beautiful woman, he suddenly realized that the girl's chest injury had completely healed. He said with some embarrassment, "Sorry, I was too engrossed in healing. Invest?" The beautiful woman was stunned for a moment before her face turned red. She understood Lin Yi's intentions and could not help but glare at Lin Yi. "Then can you take it away now? Now. I want to help you consolidate." For some reason, Lin Yi said this sentence. You're courting death." The beautiful woman glared at Lin Yi, but for some reason, her desire to kill Lin Yi had faded a lot. He. Lin Yi quickly moved his hands away, and a pair of perfect jade rabbits jumped out. "You. Turn your head." The beautiful woman felt a chill in her chest. When she looked up, she saw Lin Yi staring at her with a lecherous look. She immediately became anxious. Oh, okay. Lin Yi also felt that his previous behavior was a bit inappropriate, but this also made Lin Yi feel strained. He was not a person who was easily obsessed with lust. What was going on today? The girl in front of him seemed to have an indescribable attraction to him. As for why, Lin Yi could not explain it. After Lin Yi turned his head, the beautiful woman quickly wanted to tie the yellow silk back to her chest. However, when she raised her hand, she realized that her acupuncture points were still sealed. If she had true qi in her body, it would not be a problem. She could break through the acupuncture points on her own, but she did not. She hesitated for a moment and could only say, "Hey, Ian?" Lin Yi asked, but he did not turn his head. "You. Help me unseal my acupuncture points," the beautiful woman said anxiously. Oh, right. Lin Yi just remembered that the beautiful woman's acupuncture points had not been unsealed. He quickly turned around, but he could not avoid seeing the charming jade rabbit on the beautiful woman's chest. You're still looking?" The beautiful woman glared at Lin Yi. "How can I unseal the acupuncture points if I don't look? Are you going to reach out and poke around?" Lin Yi asked. "Then, you look." The beautiful woman was a little speechless. "This is what you want me to look at?" Lin Yi continued to look, then reached out his hand and lightly poked the beautiful woman's body a few times. After that, Lin Yi directly turned around. Although the temptation here was greater, Lin Yi still decisively resisted. This was an expert at the peak of the late stage of heaven stage. She was not an ordinary little girl. After Lin Yi recognized this, he did not dare to casually provoke her again. The beautiful woman tried for a while, and sure enough, she could move her body. She quickly picked up the yellow silk on the ground and quickly tied up her chest. She tidied up her clothes, but she did not immediately call Lin Yi. Instead, she looked at Lin Yi's back with a complicated look in her eyes. With her style of doing things, she should have killed Lin Yi, but she didn't know why, but she didn't want to do it. Was it because Lin Yi was her savior? The beautiful woman touched the small box on her body and opened it. There were 2 perfectly intact pills inside. At this time, the beautiful woman was completely sure that Lin Yi didn't use her pills. In other words, Lin Yi healed his injuries first, and then healed his own. The beautiful woman was very clear about how serious Lin Yi's injuries were. She found it hard to imagine that Lin Yi could actually heal himself and then heal himself. Is really amazing. No wonder little 1 and little 13 returned in defeat, and Han Jingjing could actually recover after suffering such heavy injuries. And Boss Bai's injuries, did he also heal them? Thinking of this possibility, the beautiful woman was shocked by her own thoughts. If that was the case, then Lin Yi was simply too powerful. However, no matter what, the beautiful woman didn't have any enmity with Lin Yi. She couldn't mediate the enmity between Lin Yi and the 5 Elements sect. Not to mention her, even her master couldn't do anything about it. Therefore, the beautiful woman shook her head and temporarily stopped thinking about these things. "Thank you," the beautiful woman said to Lin Yi. Although Lin Yi inevitably took advantage of her while she was healing, the beautiful woman was still grateful to him. Without him, she might have already died. Chapter 2808. That's the 5 Evils Dragon. It's the master of the 5 Evils Savage Land. The beautiful woman was a little shy at first, but when it came to serious matters, she regained her composure and explained to Lin Yi. The 5 Evils Dragon. Could it be a 5 elemental spirit beast? Lin Yi asked. That's right. You should be able to tell from the skills it uses. The beautiful woman nodded. Oh, so you're saying that you're a practitioner of all 5 elements as well? Lin Yi pretended to ask casually. The beautiful woman's expression tightened slightly, but she still nodded and said, I'm a 4 elemental cultivator and 1 virtual elemental cultivator. Do you know about the 5 elemental cultivator and the virtual elemental cultivator? I know a little. Lin Yi nodded. He suddenly understood and was very surprised. This beautiful woman was a 4 elemental cultivator and 1 virtual elemental cultivator. Wasn't she too powerful? Let's not talk about this. Oh right, what's your name? Are you also a trial taker participating in the Heavenly Elixir Sect's trial? The beautiful woman didn't want to talk about her own problems. When she saw Lin Yi's surprised expression, she changed the topic. Lin Yi. Lin Yi didn't hide it. There was no way to hide it. Other than the trial takers, is there anyone else here? That's true. The beautiful woman nodded. She reached into her bag and took out a spiritual herb. She handed it to Lin Yi and said, "This is the spiritual herb I promised you. It's needed for this trial." "Oh. Then I won't stand on ceremony." Lin Yi nodded and accepted it. "What's your name? Which sect are you from?" "My name is Tian Chan, I'm a loose cultivator." The beautiful woman hesitated for a moment before saying her name. However, she lied about her sect. Right now, her sect should have some conflict with Lin Yi. She didn't know why, but Tian Chan didn't want too much estrangement between her and Lin Yi. Perhaps she didn't want him to feel that he had saved an enemy. That was what Tian Chan thought. Tian Chan? This area is built next to the water, and every family has its own shadow, just like its name. Lin Yi looked at Tian Chan and said emotionally. Tian Chan blushed. How could she not hear that Lin Yi was praising her beauty? Since she was a child, no one had ever praised her as a beauty. At this time, being praised by Lin Yi, Tian Chan couldn't help but feel a little shy. "Oh right, why did you come to the Five Fiends mountain range?" Tian Chan changed the topic and asked. She was a little curious as to why Lin Yi would come to the peak of the Five Fiends mountain range. "Oh, I went to look for treasures." Lin Yi didn't hide it and told the truth. If he randomly came up with a reason, Tian Chan wouldn't believe him. Treasure hunt. Tian Chan was stunned. "Oh, this is it." Lin Yi took out the Essence Energy Inner Core and showed it to Tian Chan. Essence Energy Inner Core? "You actually found this thing?" Tian Chan was stunned. She didn't expect Lin Yi's luck to be so good. He actually found a spirit beast's essence energy Inner Core. "You know what this thing is used for?" Lin Yi didn't expect Tian Chan to recognize it at a glance. When Tian Chan heard Lin Yi's question, she couldn't help but be stunned. She hesitated for a moment but still said, "It can be made into a protective necklace. However, it needs a blacksmith." "Are you a blacksmith?" Lin Yi asked. "I." Tian Chan pursed her lips and nodded. "You can say that. However, I've never forged anything before. Why don't you help me forge one?" Lin Yi smiled and made a joke. "Ah, one is not enough. I need at least 5. Tian Chan said, "Moreover, after this trial, I will return to my sect. You and I probably won't meet again." "Hehe, which sect are you from? Maybe we'll meet again in the future," Lin Yi asked. Tian Chan hesitated for a moment and became silent. She didn't want to lie to Lin Yi, but she also didn't want to reveal her sect. The Heavenly Elixir Sect and Lin Yi still had a lot of hatred. Tian Chan didn't want to destroy their relationship because of her sect. As for why she cared so much about their relationship, Tian Chan didn't know. If it was in the past, she would definitely kill Lin Yi. But now, she didn't have this thought. Forget it. Let's not talk about this. Tian Chan's silence made Lin Yi slightly surprised. However, he didn't ask further. Even if Tian Chan didn't say, Lin Yi could guess her origin. If she really came from the Five Elements sect, it was normal for her to hide her sect's origin. "Oh yes, why did you come to the Five Fiends mountain range?" "I came to do something special," Tian Chan said. "Did you succeed?" Lin Yi asked. "I don't know yet." Tian Chan shook her head. Thinking about what happened before, she was a little confused. Lin Yi knew that the two of them weren't familiar. Even if he was Tian Chan's savior, Tian Chan might not tell him the truth, and she might not tell him her purpose of coming here. After all, Lin Yi guessed that Tian Chan might be here to accept the inheritance. However, according to Boss Bai's words, the inheritance of origin power was different from the inheritance of perception. Every time the inheritance of origin power was passed down, only one person could successfully accept the inheritance. If he successfully accepted the inheritance, then Tian Chan should have failed to accept the inheritance. In this way, Tian Chan's previous preparation gave Lin Yi a ready-made advantage. If Tian Chan knew that Lin Yi accepted the inheritance, would she be so angry that she would kill him? Thinking of this, Lin Yi decided not to continue on this topic. Otherwise, if Tian Chan realized it, he would be in danger. After all, Boss Bai had said before that in order to accept the inheritance of origin power, a series of complicated preparations must be made. Before, Tian Chan might have already made the preparations, and now the inheritance might have failed. It was just that she herself didn't know it yet. As for Lin Yi, if it weren't for the fact that the art of dragon mastery suddenly broke through to the second level, Lin Yi probably wouldn't think that he had already accepted the inheritance, because on the surface, it was hard to tell whether he had accepted the inheritance or not. How do we get out of here? This cliff is really high. How are we going to get up? Lin Yi suddenly thought of the most important question, which was how the two of them could leave from here. Being reminded by Lin Yi, Tian Chan raised her head and found the situation of the two of them. A touch of worry flashed in her eyes. Tian Chan looked around, and the worry on her face became more intense. After a while, she said, "It seems that we can't go up." Chapter 2809. One must know that the jumping height of a heaven rank expert was not on the same level as an earth rank expert. Even if Lin Yi's Qinggong was good, it did not mean that he could jump higher than a heaven rank expert. He could only run as fast as a heaven rank expert. This place is very high. With my jumping height, I can't jump up at all. Tian Chan looked at the cliff and shook her head. The worry in her eyes deepened. Then, why don't we go up from here and keep walking along the mountain? Lin Yi asked. There must be an end to this mountain, right? End. Maybe, maybe not. Even if there is, there might be other dangers. Tian Chan shook her head. I know this place better than you. The other side of the Five Fiends Mountain is a dead end. Dead end? Lin Yi looked at Tian Chan in shock. That means, other than going back from here, there is no way out. That's right. Legend has it that the Five Fiends Mountain is a dividing line. On the other side of the Five Fiends Mountain lives a higher-level spiritual beast, the legendary Heavenly Beast. Tian Chan said, the Five Fiends Mountain range is where the previous spiritual beast kings of the Land of Five Evils reside. When it successfully ascends to the Heavenly Tao, it will give up the Five Fiends Mountain range to the successor, who is the new spiritual beast king of the Land of Five Evils. The old spiritual beast king that ascends to the Heavenly Tao will cross the Five Fiends Mountain range and go to the other side of the mountain range. Lin Yi was speechless. Originally, Lin Yi was hoping that there was a way out in the endless distance. But it seemed that there was no hope now. Since Tian Chan could come here to receive the inheritance, she must know this place better than him. Previously, a spiritual beast with the strength of a heaven-rank late-stage spiritual beast had already put them in a difficult situation. If they continued to walk forward and encountered a bunch of heavenly beast, it would be equivalent to courting death. Lin Yi would rather wait for death here. It was better to go there and die. Then, there is no other way. Lin Yi said helplessly as he looked at the precipitous cliff in front of him. He never thought that he would be trapped in a valley one day. I can't think of anything for now. Tian Chan shook her head and frowned. No one knew what she was thinking. If we don't go out, will someone come looking for us? Lin Yi actually wanted to ask if anyone had come looking for Tian Chan. Since she was here to receive the inheritance, then she should be a very important figure in the Five Elements sect. It was impossible for the Five Elements sect to ignore her, right? I don't think so. Tian Chan shook her head. I'm not sure either. All right, are you hungry? I'll make something to eat, and then we'll think of a way. Lin Yi asked. It's okay, I'm a sky class, so I don't need to eat. Tian Chan shook her head. But I don't have any pure qi left in my body, so I'm a little hungry. Then I'll go find something to eat. Lin Yi couldn't think of a good way to leave at the moment. He could only look for something to eat. He wasn't as familiar with the terrain as Tian Chan was, and if Tian Chan said there was no way, then there was no way. So, the only thing Lin Yi was considering was if he could climb up the precipitous cliff and not leave from another direction. Skybolt Pig, is there anything good to eat here? Lin Yi turned to Skybolt Pig and asked. This is Skybolt Pig. Tian Chan heard Lin Yi's words and focused on Skybolt Pig. She was a little surprised. You know Skybolt Pig? Lin Yi was startled. He didn't think that Tian Chan would know about Skybolt Pig. Yeah, I've read about it before. The elixir god Zhongliju's contracted spirit beast. Why is it with you? Tian Chan paused and remembered that Lin Yi had been to Zhongliju's tomb before, so it wasn't surprising that he had Zhongliju's contracted spirit beast. Haha, it was a coincidence that this little guy followed me. Lin Yi rubbed Skybolt Pig's head and didn't say much. He and Tian Chan seemed to be getting along well, but they were both holding back. Everyone had their own secrets that couldn't be told. I see. I heard that this little guy knows how to hunt for treasures, is that true? Tian Chan asked. It's true, and it was this little guy who brought me here to find this essence energy core. Lin Yi said honestly. Oink oink. Skybolt Pig nodded proudly. It's so cute, can I hug it? Tian Chan didn't think that she would meet Skybolt Pig here. This was her Grandmaster's contracted spirit beast, and Tian Chan felt that she would be affected by her Grandmaster's spiritual energy just by hugging it. Sure, but this little guy is shy. But, before Lin Yi could finish, Skybolt Pig jumped into Tian Chan's arms. This made Lin Yi speechless. Are you two from the same family? What's with this little guy? Same family? Tian Chan froze. Our surname is Tian. Lin Yi smiled. You're the one from the same family as the pig. Tian Chan rolled her eyes at Lin Yi. She was extremely charming, and Lin Yi couldn't help but hold his breath. Ha ha. Lin Yi laughed. It seems to like me very much. Tian Chan found that Skybolt Pig was very close to her. Still, I can't give it to you. Lin Yi said. Stingy. Tian Chan returned Skybolt Pig to Lin Yi. However, after Tian Chan said this, she felt a bit strange. She actually had such a coquettish side. Was it because he saw her body? Or was it because he didn't know where he would go tomorrow at the bottom of this cliff? Haha. Lin Yi took Skybolt Pig and said, let's go find something to eat. Oink oink. Skybolt Pig seemed to be a bit hungry, and excitedly ran in a direction with Lin Yi. Tian Chan wanted to follow, but she thought that her body was very tired. She didn't have a trace of physical strength. At this time, she shouldn't waste her physical strength. It would be better for her to sit down and cultivate for a while. So, Lin Yi left. Tian Chan sat on the ground and began to absorb the heaven and earthling qi. The five evils qi here was a nightmare for other cultivators, but for Tian Chan, it was a rare place to cultivate. The heaven and earthling qi here was very pure. Although it was of the five attributes, she was also a cultivator of the five attributes. The five evils qi here would not have any adverse effect on her. Lin Yi followed Skybolt Pig all the way to a natural pond. Skybolt Pig used his claws to point at the pond and then oink oink twice. Chapter 28:10. However, after Lin Yi stood there for a while, he discovered that there wasn't a trace of true qi fluctuation in the pond. There shouldn't be any spirit beasts here. Gigi. The Skybolt Pig was drooling. Lin Yi was helpless. He rolled up his pants and walked to the edge of the pond. However, Lin Yi discovered that there were a lot of fish in the pond. Perhaps it was because there weren't any spirit beasts or people here all year round, the pond was already full of fish. Moreover, they were all very fat. Lin Yi casually reached out his hand and caught a few big fish. Lin Yi threw the fish on the shore and grabbed a few more. Then, he went ashore and brought the Skybolt Pig back to the original place. There, he saw Tian Chan sitting cross-legged with her eyes closed, cultivating. Lin Yi was slightly surprised, then he immediately thought of Tian Chan's attributes. She was also a cultivator of the five attributes, so it was normal for her to be able to use the five evils qi to cultivate. However, this five evils qi wasn't very useful for Lin Yi. Although the five evils qi here was very pure, it wasn't as pure as the true qi in the space inside the jade pendant. Lin Yi could only cultivate normally here. Tian Chan, do you want to eat fish? Lin Yi asked. Ah, you're back? Tian Chan quickly recovered from her cultivation state. She discovered that she was too immersed in her cultivation. In the past, it didn't matter when she was in the sect because no one could harm her. Therefore, when Tian Chan was cultivating, she wasn't vigilant at all. But here, If Lin Yi wanted to harm her, then she would really fall into his trap. However, Tian Chan had a second thought. If Lin Yi really wanted to harm her, then why did Lin Yi save her? At that time, he could have just given her a palm and she would have died. Why would he wait until now? Therefore, Tian Chan felt that she was thinking too much. There was no need to guard against Lin Yi. Well, I only found fish here. I'm going to grill it. Do you want to eat it? Lin Yi asked. Let's eat. Tian Chan showed an expectant expression. I haven't eaten for a long time. Hee hee. Lin Yi laughed and said, if you want to eat, come and help me. There are no dead branches here. Help. Tian Chan was taken aback. How? You are a 5-elemental cultivator, so you should also be an alchemist, right? Condense Dan fire to roast fish. As Lin Yi spoke, he placed the fish on the ground in order. Then, he condensed an alchemic fire and began to roast them. So, this works too? Tian Chan found it a little novel. In the sect, she had never used the elixir fire to roast fish. She had never even cooked dishes by herself, so she didn't know that the elixir fire could also be used to roast. Hee, I can tell that you are a socialite. You are naturally different from individual cultivators like us. Under all the harsh conditions, you have to rely on yourself to create the conditions, Lin Yi said with a smile. Yes, it's fortunate that I met you. Otherwise, I'm afraid I would have been buried under this cliff this time. Tian Chan said with a sigh. According to Patriarch Xian Chen, there shouldn't be any danger for her to come here. However, who would have thought that the 5 Evils dragon would return to the cave so early, causing her to experience such a thrilling scene? If it weren't for Lin Yi who helped her heal, even if she had 100 recover pills, she wouldn't have been able to eat them. Tian Chan followed Lin Yi's example and condensed the elixir fire to roast fish. With the two of them roasting together, the process was naturally much faster. In the blink of an eye, the roast fish emitted a fragrant aroma. Tian Chan was really a little hungry. After the roast fish was done, she couldn't wait to take a big bite. However, she felt that it wasn't ladylike enough. She blushed and lowered her head to eat the fish in small bites. However, she wasn't used to it. If you're hungry, then eat it. There are only the two of us here. You don't have to care too much about those etiquettes, Lin Yi said. Although Tian Chan heard Lin Yi's words, she still ate the roast fish in a very polite manner. Lin Yi smiled and didn't say anything else. He picked up a roast fish and threw it to Skybolt Pig. As for Lin Yi, because he had just broken through to the 2nd level of the art of dragon mastery, he didn't feel hungry at all. Skybolt Pig caught the roast fish and ate it in big bites. There was a total of 6 roast fish. Skybolt Pig ate 2, and the remaining 4 went into Tian Chan's stomach. When Tian Chan finished eating, she realized that she actually ate 6 roast fish. This made her a little embarrassed. It's okay. We're all cultivators. It's okay to eat a little more. Lin Yi smiled. It would have been better if Lin Yi didn't say it. After hearing it, Tian Chan became even more embarrassed. She glared at Lin Yi and said, "You still dare to say it? I'll kick you." Hee hee. Lin Yi smiled. He felt that the beautiful girl in front of him was very cute. Although she was a peak late-stage heaven-class expert, her mind was a little pure. It seemed that she wasn't that old. Lin Yi knew that heaven-class experts could maintain their appearance forever. Although they couldn't live forever, they could still maintain the appearance they had when they broke through to the heaven class. Although Tian Chan looked like she was 17 or 18 years old, she might actually be 40 or 50 years old. But from her current reaction, she shouldn't be that old. How old are you this year? Lin Yi asked. 19. How about you? Tian Chan was embarrassed. Lin Yi changed the topic and she was happy to answer. Oh, I'm just 1 year older than you. Lin Yi said, but you're actually a peak late-stage heaven-class expert at such a young age. It's really rare. It seems that your sect's strength isn't weak. It's all right. Tian Chan didn't seem to be willing to talk about her sect's matters. She didn't answer Lin Yi's question directly. Lin Yi saw that Tian Chan didn't want to talk about it, so he didn't say anything else. The only topic between the two of them was each other's sect, cultivation methods, and martial skills. But these things were confidential. If Tian Chan didn't say it, Lin Yi couldn't ask. As for other common things, he really didn't know what to say. After all, the two of them weren't very familiar with each other, and they didn't understand each other. Lin Yi raised his head and looked at the steep cliff. He was thinking about a way to leave this place. Staying here was not a solution. Although Lin Yi felt that the five evils qi shouldn't have any effect on him, he couldn't live here forever, right? Although living here with a beautiful woman like Tian Chan was a very enviable thing, Lin Yi had more important things to do. There's no foothold on this cliff, but when you jump, can't you use your hands and feet to make a dent on the cliff and use it as a foothold? Lin Yi suggested after carefully studying the cliff. Chapter 28:11. Then, she continued, you should have seen it before. When I was fighting with the dragon of five evils, our martial skills collided with each other. Although it produced a very powerful force, its cave didn't suffer any damage. Yes. Lin Yi was suddenly startled. Only now did he realize that something was wrong. The dragon of five evils had collided with Tian Chan's martial skills, and the resulting force was almost equivalent to Lin Yi's Zhenqi bomb. However, the cave of the dragon of five evils was not damaged at all. Moreover, Lin Yi's Zhenqi bomb had been able to explode the rocks in the Wulong Heoti mountain range and at the school gate. In that case, it seems that my proposal won't work. Lin Yi smiled helplessly. It's not impossible. I can use my martial skill to create a depression in the mountain rock and then grab it. But with my ability, even if I have enough physical strength and true qi, I can only use my strongest martial skill 3 times. And with the height of my jump, if I want to jump to the top of the mountain, I will have to jump at least 20 times. I can't hold on for that long. Tian Chan shook her head helplessly, and said, your proposal is feasible in theory. But, it won't work in practice. But, what if you recover your physical strength and Zhenqi for a while after 3 times? Lin Yi's heart moved, and he suddenly asked. My hands and feet are clasped on the cliff. How can I use the mnemonic chant in that kind of tense state? I have to use all of my strength to concentrate on clasping the cliff with my hands and feet. Tian Chan shook her head, and said, otherwise, I will accidentally fall and die. Moreover, my mnemonic chant can only be used when I sit cross-legged and meditate. Lin Yi nodded. Tian Chan was right. Lin Yi's mantra didn't require him to sit cross-legged and meditate. However, what Tian Chan said was right. At that time, all his attention would be placed on the cliff with his hands and feet. How would he be able to meditate? The slightest bit of relaxation and distraction would cause one to fall to their death. This method was still flawed. Lin Yi originally wanted to cooperate with Tian Chan. Lin Yi would transfer physical strength and true qi to Tian Chan, and Tian Chan would only need to circulate the inner force chant. However, the current situation was that Tian Chan could not circulate the inner force chant while holding onto the cliff. I have a way. Lin Yi hesitated and said. You have a way. Tian Chan was slightly taken aback. I have a martial technique called Heavenly Spring Rain. It can consume my own physical strength and true qi to quickly restore my teammates' physical strength and true qi. Lin Yi said, at that time, you don't need to circulate the inner force chant. Just focus on holding onto the cliff, and I can restore your physical strength and true qi. Heavenly Spring Rain? Isn't this the martial technique of the Everyday and Everyday sect? You actually know it. Tian Chan was slightly taken aback, but she had obviously heard of this martial technique. Really? Lin Yi was also taken aback. He didn't expect this martial technique to be passed down from the Everyday and Everyday sect. I got this martial technique from a friend. It doesn't have much to do with the Everyday and Everyday sect. You really have a lot of powerful martial techniques. Before, your true qi could heal my injuries. Now, your true qi can also be used by me. You have quite a lot of secrets. At this moment, Tian Chan felt that it wasn't a coincidence that Lin Yi had a foothold in the hidden realm and began to attack the ancient realm, but Lin Yi really had the strength to do so. However, Tian Chan was very curious. How did a rogue cultivator reach this step? Tian Chan decided that after going back, she would carefully investigate Lin Yi's growth. This was the first time she was so curious about a person. Then can you keep it a secret for me? Tian Chan knew too many of Lin Yi's secrets. Although the two of them seemed to have a good relationship, it was based on the situation where the two of them couldn't leave this place. Once the two of them left this place and separated, Lin Yi was also afraid that Tian Chan would be pressured by the sect to say something. At that time, his secrets would be exposed. Okay. Tian Chan unexpectedly nodded and agreed to Lin Yi's request. After agreeing, Tian Chan felt that it was inconceivable. I actually agreed to keep it a secret for him? Is it because he saved me before? Perhaps, I'm not someone who doesn't know how to repay kindness. Thank you. Lin Yi didn't know why, but he also believed Tian Chan's words. He always felt that there was an indescribable connection and trust between the two of them. As for what exactly it was, Lin Yi also didn't know. Now, let's think about how to leave this place. Although you have the heavenly spring rain martial skill, even so, it will be difficult for us to leave this place. Tian Chan shook her head and said, first of all, even if you can use martial skills to help me recover my physical strength, you can only recover once or twice, but can you recover a third time? I'm an expert with the strength of the peak late stage of heaven stage. First of all, I have more physical strength and true qi than you. Even if you give me all the physical strength and true qi in your body, I can only jump 2 more times. It won't play a decisive role. Moreover, there are 2 of us, how can we jump up together? Your 2 worries are actually not a problem. Lin Yi waved his hand and said, first of all, I can recover my physical strength and continue to use martial skills. Second, you can tie me behind you, so that when you jump up, you can bring me along. You recover physical strength and true qi? Tian Chan was stunned. How long will it take to recover? As far as I know, after continuously using martial skills, after using the body's physical strength and true qi, it is impossible to recover without a period of cultivation, right? I will be fine in a while. Lin Yi smiled. Look at me. Just now, I healed myself, healed you, and grilled fish. I used up a lot of physical strength and true qi. But now, my physical strength and true qi are full. Tian Chan was shocked and looked at Lin Yi in surprise. Lin Yi, on the other hand, deliberately operated the mantra, making Tian Chan feel an obvious feeling of energy. After a while, Tian Chan said, you are really amazing. There are not many people who can make me admire, but you are one of them. Hehe, if it weren't for the fact that we are going through thick and thin together, I wouldn't have told you so many secrets. Lin Yi shrugged. What do you think of my suggestion? Chapter 28:12. In the past, Tian Chan wouldn't have agreed at all. She didn't have much physical contact with the opposite sex, but now it was different. The two of them were in a hopeless situation, and if they didn't do this, they wouldn't be able to escape. Plus, Lin Yi had seen things he shouldn't have seen, touched things he shouldn't have touched, and Tian Chan's immunity towards him, it was all him anyways, and Tian Chan's resistance wasn't as strong anymore. All right. Tian Chan finally nodded. I don't know how long it's been. Lin Yi had broken through in the jade space, and with the inheritance from the origin, he didn't know how long it had been. He wondered how Zhao Chikuan and the others were doing. What's wrong? Do you have friends who are participating in the trial outside? Yeah, I wonder how they're doing. Lin Yi said worriedly. Tian Chan was silent after listening to Lin Yi's words. She knew the nature of the Sky Elixir School's test. The practitioners who came here were basically sending themselves to death. Although it was cruel, Tian Chan couldn't do anything about it. Even her master couldn't do anything about it. She couldn't do anything about it. She could only let it be. But she couldn't say this to Lin Yi, so she changed the topic. How do I tie you to me? There aren't any ropes or anything like that here. Ooh. Lin Yi looked around, and other than a bloody fingernail, there was nothing else. Lin Yi's eyes finally landed on Tian Chan's chest, as if he wanted to say something, but he didn't. Tian Chan felt uncomfortable being stared at by Lin Yi. You. What are you looking at? Your chest, the yellow cloth. Lin Yi said. Then, what about my chest? Tian Chan glared at Lin Yi and said angrily, should I show it to you? I'm behind you, so I can't see it. Lin Yi sweated and said, besides, didn't I see it before? There's only the two of us here. Once we reach the top of the mountain, you can go back, right? This. Tian Chan felt a little embarrassed to do so. After all, this was different from when Lin Yi healed her. However, thinking about it, Lin Yi was right. There were only the two of them in this mountain range. Lin Yi had seen and touched it. In order to go up smoothly, Lin Yi's suggestion was acceptable. However, Tian Chan felt that it was a little inappropriate. Besides, your clothes are so long, it can't be exposed, right? At most, it'll be faintly visible. Look at those car models on TV, there's so much exposed. Lin Yi said while the iron was hot. I'll kick you to death. I don't want to become famous. Tian Chan pretended to kick Lin Yi, but Lin Yi's words made her relax a little. She rolled her eyes at Lin Yi and said, "How am I supposed to take it off if you look at me? Haha, I'll just treat it as watching you dance." Lin Yi smiled. "I think you're looking for a kick. You're just a small Earth-class late phase. How dare you talk to a Sky-class late phase peak like this? Aren't you afraid that I'll kill you in one hit?" Tian Chan looked at Lin Yi with disdain. "Haha, I can kill Sky-class in one hit too." Lin Yi smiled. Zhong Naipao brought 2 Sky-class mid-phase followers. "I killed one of them." "Ah, you can kill Sky-class mid-phase already?" Tian Chan paused and looked at Lin Yi in shock. "What do you mean by already? Did you know that I could do it in the past?" Lin Yi paused as well. "No. I was just shocked." Tian Chan was a little shocked. She didn't know that Zhong Naipao's followers were killed in one hit. She just didn't expect Lin Yi to be this strong. "Then you're still not my opponent. I can kill Sky-class mid-phase in one hit too." "Then kill me. Let's not go up," Lin Yi said. "You think I don't dare?" Tian Chan raged. "Why aren't you turning around?" "Haha." Lin Yi smiled and turned around. He had a strange feeling in his heart. Rock Candy was also a Sky-class late phase peak, but when she was with Lin Yi, she always treated Lin Yi with a cold attitude. But Tian Chan was different. Although she was a master, her personality was like a little girl. Lin Yi felt very happy when he was with her. Tian Chan hesitated for a moment. She untied the yellow silk on her chest and then carefully pulled the neckline to prevent her breasts from being exposed. However, it was impossible. The shape of the clothes was there. Tian Chan could only try to cover her body with the clothes. However, this kind of looming temptation gave Tian Chan a headache. "All right, you can turn around now." Tian Chan couldn't come up with a solution after a long time, so she called out to him. "Are you deliberately seducing me?" Lin Yi looked at Tian Chan and said, "Don't you know that this kind of feeling makes men go crazy? If you say it again, I will kick you into a eunuch." Tian Chan looked at Lin Yi coldly and said, "If you say it again, I will tell you a story about killing the donkey after it has outlived its usefulness. Let's go up the cliff and settle the account." "Okay." Lin Yi stopped smiling. He remembered that although the one in front of him was a beautiful woman, she was also a Sky-class late phase peak expert. She was an existence that could destroy him at any time. "Now I will wrap the yellow silk around us. Help me." "Okay." Tian Chan nodded. She looked at Lin Yi standing behind her nervously. Her delicate body trembled a little. She wanted Lin Yi not to get too close to her. But thinking about it, how could they be tied if they were too far away? What if they fell off halfway? If she wanted it to be sturdy, she had to be close to her body. Lin Yi took a deep breath. The smell of Tian Chan's body was very good. He didn't know if it was the fragrance of the shower gel or her own body fragrance. It made Lin Yi have an impulse to kiss her. He carefully stood behind Tian Chan. Lin Yi's heavy breath blew on Tian Chan's neck, giving her a strange feeling. It was a little itchy and a little uncomfortable. She couldn't help but say, "You, don't blow on me. I am breathing normally." "If I don't, I will die," Lin Yi said helplessly. "Then turn your head." Tian Chan couldn't stand it and said, "Okay." Lin Yi tilted his head, but his body was directly attached to Tian Chan's body. Tian Chan's delicate body trembled and she almost screamed. However, it was fine if Tian Chan didn't move. Once she moved, Lin Yi inevitably had a physiological reaction. Chapter 28:13. I'm an Earth class, where would I get a weapon? Lin Yi smiled bitterly, not knowing how to explain. Alright, We'll just tie the yellow silk around our bodies. It's uncomfortable, it's uncomfortable. Tian Chan panicked as she saw Lin Yi trying to change the topic. She reached out to grab it, but realized that something wasn't right. Her face flushed red, from her neck to her ears. She pulled her hand back as if she was electrocuted. You pervert. How is this pervert? Lin Yi couldn't help but smile bitterly. This is a natural reflex. It means that you're pretty, and I'm attracted to you. If you looked like the 5 malefic dragon, it'd be weird if I had a reaction. You're the 5 malefic dragon. Tian Chan was embarrassed, but Lin Yi complimenting her beauty made her feel good. Which girl didn't like compliments? Especially when Tian Chan was in the sect. She didn't have a chance like this at all. Haha, alright, don't move. It'll be done in a while. We'll use the yellow silk to tie us up, Lin Yi said. Alright then. Tian Chan felt uncomfortable with something poking at her back, but she had to act like she didn't feel anything in order to get back to the peak safely. She took the yellow silk from Lin Yi and wrapped it around her body before giving it back to Lin Yi. Lin Yi took the silk and wrapped it around himself as well before giving it to Tian Chan. The two did this a few times, and finally, they became one person. It was quite similar to when Lin Yi was carrying Xiao Xiao in the ice palace. Done. Lin Yi tied a knot on the rope, making sure it wouldn't loosen. He turned to Tian Chan. It's done now. Okay, then I'll prepare to jump. Is there anything else you need to do? Tian Chan asked. Gigi. The Sky Thunder pig pointed at the nail of the 5 Evils dragon on the ground. Are you saying that this is a good thing? Lin Yi was slightly stunned. Previously, he thought that the nails of the 5 Evils dragon were useless, so he casually threw them aside. But looking at the Sky Thunder pig, it seemed to be a treasure. Gigi. The Heavenly Thunder pig nodded. It's right. Every part of the dragon of 5 Evils is a treasure. Tian Chan explained, this nail belongs to the Earth attribute. It's a heavenly treasure that can strengthen the physique of Earth attribute cultivators. However, it's useless to me. Oh. Since it's useful, let's bring it back. Lin Yi said to the Skybolt pig, pick it up and carry it on my back, we are leaving. Gigi. The Skybolt pig quickly ran over and picked up the nail with his mouth. Then, he jumped onto Lin Yi's body and grabbed onto Lin Yi with all 4 of his limbs. Okay, that's enough. Let's go up. Lin Yi said to Tian Chan. Tian Chan nodded and took a deep breath. Then, she said to Lin Yi, then I'll prepare to jump. Be careful. Okay. Lin Yi was tied up by the yellow silk, so he didn't need to hold onto Tian Chan's body. However, his lower body was pressed against Tian Chan, which made Lin Yi blush. However, the more he thought about it, the more he couldn't calm down. This made Lin Yi a little embarrassed, so he could only try not to think about it. Tian Chan couldn't do anything about it. She channeled the mantra and suddenly leaped up towards the cliff. Then, she pushed out her palms and slammed them against the cliff with all her might. Lin Yi could see that this should be the 5 elements Bagua Zhong, which was also Tian Chan's strongest move. Although Lin Yi wanted to secretly learn it, he also knew that even if he asked Tian Chan, she wouldn't tell him. Just like how Tian Chan didn't ask why he could heal her, even if he asked, she wouldn't tell him. Boom. Tian Chan used a lot of strength, but what she left on the cliff was only a shallow mark. It was barely enough for Tian Chan to hold on and prevent her from falling. Then, Tian Chan kicked hard on the cliff with both of her feet. Similarly, she only kicked a shallow mark on the cliff, so that she could temporarily hang there. Lin Yi, I can't do it. When I was dealing with the 5 Evils dragon, my physical strength and true qi were almost used up. I just ate something and it was better, but after I used this move, my body has no physical strength and true qi at all. Tian Chan hurriedly said to Lin Yi, I can't hold on for long. This position is very uncomfortable. Quickly help me replenish my physical strength and true qi. Okay. Lin Yi did not dare to be negligent. He hurriedly used the mantra of the heavenly spring rain. However, it was still a bit difficult for Lin Yi to use this position, but he finally succeeded. Heavenly spring rain, the 5th move. The first move of the heavenly spring rain could transfer true qi to 1 person, the second move could transfer true qi to 2 people, and the 5th move could transfer true qi to 5 people. Right now, There was only Tian Chan beside Lin Yi. Using the fifth move was equivalent to transferring 5 portions of true qi to Tian Chan at the same time. This way, the physical strength and true qi in Lin Yi's body could be transferred to Tian Chan quickly. On Lin Yi's hands, a light blue mist of true qi suddenly appeared. Then, as Lin Yi activated the martial skill, the light blue true qi suddenly left Lin Yi's hands and floated in the air. Then, like spring rain, it poured into Tian Chan's body. In an instant, Tian Chan felt that her physical strength and true qi were quickly restored. It didn't take long for Lin Yi's physical strength and true qi to completely enter Tian Chan's body, and Lin Yi became a weak person. It's really magical, Tian Chan said with a sigh. I really didn't expect this martial skill to be so magical. My physical strength and true qi suddenly became a lot more abundant. Although it's not at its peak, it's not a problem to jump 2 more times. That's good. After using the heavenly spring rain, Lin Yi didn't care about anything else. He quickly entered the Jade Space and activated the second stage of the Art of Dragon Mastery to recover the physical strength and true qi that he had lost. After resting for a while, Tian Chan jumped up again, this time to a higher altitude. She activated the 5 elements 8 trigrams palm, and so on, behind the 5 Fiends Mountains, the 5 Fiends Barren Grounds. Nai Pao was very lucky the place he was teleported to was the closest to a safe place. Chapter 28:14. This safe place was marked out on the map, but any practitioner with a bit of intelligence could tell that it was a natural moat. It didn't matter if it was a beast or a bird, they wouldn't be able to get in here. Spirit beasts were usually bigger, and they didn't have much attack power. As long as a practitioner hid here, no spirit beast would be able to harm them. Mo Ba found this place pretty quickly. The two met up on the first night of the test. Gunslinger, did you get the elixir for the test? Mo Ba asked. No, there's none nearby, and I didn't look for it. Wait, this place is pretty obvious. It won't be long before other practitioners find their way here, and we'll just take it for ourselves then, Nai Pao said faintly. You're right, with Gunslinger's abilities and skills, he wouldn't need to go find it himself at all. Only an idiot would go find it himself, Mo Ba said respectfully. Let's rest for a bit, Nai Pao said faintly. The chi here is quite thick, I'll train for a bit. Gunslinger, didn't they say that the Five's malevolence is harmful to practitioners? Why are you? Mo Ba said, startled. Haha, look at what kind of arts I'm practicing, my wasp absorption arts. What chi can't I absorb? As long as it's chi, it doesn't matter if it's Five's malevolence chi, or even poison. Nai Pao laughed casually. This place is perfect for me to train, and I'll take some time to consolidate my strength. And so, Nai Pao trained while Mo Ba stood guard beside him. Their luck wasn't that good, however, as they didn't see a single practitioner the whole time. Mo Ba couldn't help but panic. Liang bro, something's not right. We've been waiting for so long, why haven't we seen a single practitioner? How long has it been? Let's wait, there's no need to rush, Nai Pao said calmly. Nai Pao hadn't even finished his words when he heard voices coming from outside the safe place. Someone was coming. Master Yang, we're really lucky there's a place here that looks pretty good, we can avoid the attacks of Spirit Beast. The person outside said. Indeed, we can hide here and rest for a while before rushing to the teleportation array. The person called Young Hero Yang said. He was an expert from the Flame Mountain and was a peak mid-stage heaven rank expert. The one who spoke to him was an Earth-class mid-phase master from the Dark Palace, and the other one who didn't speak was also an Earth-class early-phase master from the Dark Palace. Both of them were just there to carry Young Hero Yang's shoes, but following behind a peak heaven-class mid-phase master could greatly reduce the danger. Look, they had met a mystic-class spirit beast earlier, and it was beaten away by Young Hero Yang. Although they didn't have much of an advantage, if these two Earth-class masters from the Dark Palace went up against it, then even if they didn't die, they would be heavily injured. Moreover, with Young Hero Yang's protection, they were able to successfully collect the trial's elixir. Although there was only one for each of them, it was already very good. If the two of them were to act alone, they might not be able to collect the elixir and might even lose their lives. After you, Young Hero Yang, Disciple A said, and made a gesture of invitation. Young Hero Yang nodded and led the way into the safe area. However, he paused when he went in. He saw Naipao and his follower Mo Ba here as well. But young Hero Yang wasn't too afraid. As far as he was concerned, he was a sky-class mid-phase peak after all, and as long as he didn't provoke Naipao, then Zhong Naipao wouldn't do anything to him. The two disciples from the Dark Palace followed young Hero Yang in, and they too paused when they saw Naipao. They were a little fearful, but remembering that Naipao was only a sky-class early phase, and his follower Mo Ba mid-phase, while young Hero Yang was a sky-class mid-phase peak, they calmed down. The three of you seem to be very satisfied with your harvest. Mo Ba grinned and suddenly asked the three of them. What do you mean? Disciple B turned around, a little wary. It's nothing. Hand over the elixir, and Gunslinger will let you live. Mo Ba said faintly. Hand it over. Why? Disciple B was startled. He came with a mission this time. He needed to get a chi-gathering pill from the Sky Elixir sect, allowing the sect master to level up from Earth-class late-phase peak to Sky-class early phase. This was the last chance, and while the chi-gathering pill had its drawbacks, the drawbacks would disappear once the inheritance was mastered, and there would be no more barriers to leveling up. The time for that plan was getting closer and closer, and if the Dark Palace wanted a piece of the pie, they had to hurry. The problem now was that the sect master Yi Wn hadn't broken through to Sky class yet, and the higher the strength, the higher the chance of mastering the inheritance. The Dark Palace had no other choice but to resort to this. Why? Because Gunslinger can decide your life and death. Mo Ba hemped coldly. If Gunslinger wants you to live, you'll live. If he wants you to die, you'll die. Aren't you being too overbearing? Disciple B couldn't help but say. Overbearing? From the moment you stepped into the ranks of practitioners, you should know what it means to be the strong preying on the weak. Isn't it a little too late to talk about overbearing now? Mo Ba said with disdain. All right, we're all here for the test, and I don't want to hurt our friends. Our gunslinger's principle is, hand over the item, and we won't kill you. If you want to live, then do it quickly. If you want to die, then I won't stop you. You. Disciple B was about to say something when the other disciple A pulled him back. He gestured to Disciple B to see what young Warrior Yang had to say. The strongest person here was young Warrior Yang, and the two of them were only Earth classes. They didn't have much say here. Hero Yang, you mean? Dark Palace Disciple A looked at Fire Mountain's Hero Yang. Zhong Naipao, don't push yourself. If we really fight, I'm not scared of you. I'm a Sky class mid-phase peak, different from that two Junwang early phase peak. Yang was quite pissed as well. He'd been flattered by the first and second disciples on the way here, and now that he was being robbed by Naipao, it was only natural that he wasn't happy about it, especially in front of his two followers. How could he back down? Chapter 28:15. Not scared. Then I'll stand here and let you hit me. Let's see what you can do. Naipao laughed as he looked at Yang in disdain. I'm not trying to brag, but even if I told you to hit me, you wouldn't be able to do anything to me. Is that true? You're not going to do anything? Yang knew how Tu Tuor got hurt, but he didn't believe that Naipao would just stand there and let him hit him. Why would he be scared? As far as he was concerned, he'd be fine as long as he didn't touch him. He'd heard of Naipao's achievements in the Ice Palace, and he knew that Naipao had a skill called the Wasp Absorption Arts, which allowed him to absorb the practitioner's strength for his own use. It was probably the same thing right now. Tu Tuor was injured because his hand touched Naipao's body, and he had to avoid that problem. Of course, Naipao said faintly, with your strength, you're not worthy of me doing it myself. All right, if that's the case, then don't blame me for what I'm about to do. Yang calmed down after hearing Naipao's words. With a wave of his hand, a ring appeared on his waist, and he started chanting some sort of art. The ring turned bright red, and a ring of fire started burning on it. This was young Hero Yang's Heaven Step divine weapon. He came from the Blazing Mountain, and although he wasn't the young master of the Blazing Mountain, he was still a direct descendant of the Blazing Mountain, and would become an elder in the future. Therefore, the Blazing Mountain sect had bestowed him a Heaven Step divine weapon. Die. Yang's eyes flashed fiercely as the ring of fire in his hand exploded with energy, smashing towards Naipao's head, blazing 3 rings 15th form. He used his strongest technique right from the get-go, the 15th form of a Sky class, and he even used a Sky class weapon to amplify the power of his technique. Evidently, He wanted to kill Naipao in one hit. In the training grounds, death was death. The Sky Elixir sect only asked that people not be killed in the inn, but not in the training grounds. They only said to try to avoid conflict, but whether or not there was conflict was up to the practitioner themselves. This was also why Naipao dared to rob them. Naipao, on the other hand, didn't move at all. Of course, his practitioner's arts were still channeling. It was his first time facing a Sky-class mid-phase peak, but back when he was an Earth-class late-phase peak, the highest level he could kill was a Sky-class mid-phase. Now that he was a Sky-class early phase, the highest level he could kill would naturally increase as well. Killing a Sky-class mid-phase peak in one hit was still possible. Boom! The ring of fire smashed into Naipao's head, and a bone-deep wound appeared on his head. Blood flowed profusely, and if it weren't for the chi protecting his body, he would have been smashed to death. Mo Ba, on the side, quickly took out a pill and stuffed it into Naipao's mouth. Naipao had to channel his arts for a while before he fully recovered. The wound on his head had already scabbed over. Phew! Naipao took in a deep breath. A Sky-class mid-phase peak was indeed not to be underestimated. Fortunately, he had his arts protecting his body, and the opponent's skill couldn't fully hit him. Otherwise, he would have been heavily injured, if not dead. Ah! Master Yang cried out. He felt a strong force coming from his ring of fire, and while the ring was still in his hand, the power of the ring hit his body directly. All of a sudden, a huge wound appeared on young hero Yang's body. It was as if he had been smashed by the ring of flames. It was huge, and his ribs and internal organs had been crushed. After young hero Yang screamed, he struggled for a while and fell to the ground. There was no movement, and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. The two disciples of the Dark Palace were dumbfounded. In their eyes, the high and mighty Sky-class mid-phase peak was dead, just like that. This Master Yang, who they had been praising and praising, couldn't even withstand a single blow. Or rather, Master Yang didn't even make a move, and only hit Naipao once. Naipao didn't die, and he was the one who died. This was unbelievable. But, the disciples of the Dark Palace were the best at changing their minds. Seeing that their backer was dead, they changed their minds. Disciple quickly took out a box of elixir from his pocket and gave it to Mo Ba, Gunslinger. This is the elixir for the test, please accept it. Gunslinger is so strong, so strong. We've followed the wrong person, Gunslinger. Gunslinger, please take us as your followers will serve you well. Disciple B said quickly. Right, Master Yang. No, I have a elixir here as well. Gunslinger, I'll find it for you. With that, Disciple A found a box from Master Yang's corpse and gave it to Mo Ba. Mo Ba didn't take it, turning to Naipao instead. Killing these two was up to Naipao, and Mo Ba couldn't make the decision himself. Since you two are so sincere, then give it to me. Naipao looked at the two boxes and said to Mo Ba, take it. Yes, Gunslinger. Mo Ba said as he accepted the boxes. Then we. Disciple A and Disciple B said quickly. Perfect, I'm lacking some people. If someone else comes in later, tell them what Mo Ba said, so we don't have to repeat it. Naipao said faintly, but, I won't mistreat you guys. If someone else comes in later and gets another elixir, I'll give it to you. 2 is enough for me. Ah! Thank you Gunslinger. Gunslinger is so strong. Disciple A and Disciple B said gratefully. Maybe if there's more, I'll give you guys one more. I won't let anyone who follows me suffer, Naipao said with a wave of his hand. He was a loyal man, and he was loyal to Pinliang as well as his followers. It was just that they followed the wrong master. Thank you so much. Gunslinger, you're the best. Disciple A and Disciple B said. Chapter 28:16. Yes, Pow bro. The two disciples of the Dark Palace quickly replied. And so, Naipao sat cross-legged on the ground and practiced, with Mo Ba guarding him. The disciples of the Dark Palace stood at the entrance, waiting for more participants to come. Sure enough, not long after, he heard voices coming from outside again. If Lin Yi was here, he'd be able to tell that it was Li Siba and Zhao Chikuan from the Holofist Palace. The two of them met on the way to a safe place. Although they were teleported to different places, the general direction was similar, so when they rushed to a safe place, they coincidentally walked together. The two of them were very excited when they saw the safe place on the map. After all, they had gotten the elixir and came here without a hitch. It was something worth celebrating, especially Zhao Chikuan. He didn't even think that he would be able to get the elixir, nor did he think that he would be able to find a safe place without a hitch. All of this made him feel very lucky. We're finally here, Libro. I wonder if the others are here? Zhao Chikuan sighed as he came to the safe place. Yeah, I don't know, let's go take a look first, Li Siba said. With that, the two of them entered the safe place. But when they saw the two Dark Palace disciples guarding the entrance of the safe place, they were obviously stunned. You guys are... Li Siba recognized the two disciples from the Dark Palace and asked curiously. You're here to rest, right? The Dark Palace disciple barked, we're Gunslinger Naipao's underlings, we can rest here, but you must hand over the elixir. Of course, if you don't have the elixir, then scram. Li Siba wasn't too happy with the arrogant attitude of the Dark Palace disciple, but when he heard that they were Naipao's underlings, his face froze. Naipao was here? He and Zhao Chikuan raised their heads and looked in. Indeed, Naipao was sitting on the ground practicing, and beside him was his underling Mo Ba. Not far away, there was a corpse. Wasn't that young Master Yang from Blazing Mountain? Li Siba, naturally, wasn't a stranger to this. His lips twitched a couple of times. It seemed that Master Yang had fallen into Naipao's trap as well, getting into a conflict with him here. It seemed that Naipao had finished him off. Chikuan was weak, and Lin Yi wasn't here. Naturally, he listened to Li Siba. He looked up at Li Siba, not knowing what to do. Chikuan had been quite happy. He thought that he could finally relax after reaching a safe place, but who would have thought that he'd run into Naipao here? Li Siba was the same as well. This was what it meant when enemies met. His fellow disciples were crippled by Zhong Naipao, and were carried back to the sect before they could even participate in the test. But now that Lin Yi wasn't here, Li Siba had no one to rely on. He wasn't an idiot. Going against Naipao at a time like this wouldn't do him any good. After some hesitation, he said, all right, we'll give the elixir to Gunslinger and rest here. At least you know what's good for you. Disciple A laughed heartily as he took the elixir from Li Siba and Chikuan, handing it over to Naipao. Naipao saw that the two had handed over the elixir obediently, and didn't make things difficult for them. He had the ability to kill them, but there would be a price to pay. The wasp absorption art was strong, but it could only absorb the energy of practitioners below Earth class. Those above Earth class would die easily if they used it. And so, Naipao wouldn't use it so casually, especially after what Lin Yi had done to him. What he was relying on now was his other mystical technique. Of course, this technique was powerful, but it was also a self-destructive move. If it were possible, Naipao wouldn't use it so casually. He'd just use it as a deterrent. Plus, he'd just been injured, and getting injured again wouldn't be good for him. As for his ultimate skill, he didn't plan on using it. That was his trump card, and he wouldn't use it unless he absolutely had to. Putting aside the fact that using it would expose his ultimate skill, just using it once would use up a lot of chi and stamina. And so, Naipao chose to let Li Siba and Chikuan go. But he could still mock them a little. Naipao looked at Li Siba and Chikuan, mocking them faintly. Don't think that you'll be fine just because you're on Lin Yi's side. I want Lin Yi dead as well. Don't even think that he'll be able to avenge you. It's useless. Li Siba and Chikuan looked at each other, not retorting. There was no point in doing so right now. They had to wait for Lin Yi to come and fight back. Otherwise, no matter what they said, it wouldn't change anything. Plus, Li Siba and Chikuan's main goal right now was to stay alive. Retorting a little might be satisfying, but it wouldn't be worth it if they got killed. Naipao saw that the two were silent, and he didn't say anything else. He turned to Demon 8. We have 4 herbs now, right? Yes, Gunslinger, Demon 8 said respectfully. Naipao nodded and took out another herb from his bag, handing it to Demon 8. Give this back to the disciples of Dark Palace. They used to be the followers of that Yang from Fiery Mountain, but they've changed their ways, and became Naipao's followers. I, Naipao, have always taken good care of my followers. They'll benefit greatly if they follow me. The two disciples thought that Naipao was just saying it casually, Not expecting him to put it into action so quickly, they were overjoyed. Disciple A said gratefully, "Thank you, Gunslinger. It's great to follow Gunslinger. Yeah, it's much better than following that Lin Yi. Look at those two, they're in such a miserable state. Haha." Disciple B said flatteringly. Naipao was doing this for Li Siba and Chikuan to see as well. He didn't say it out loud, and was just about to drop a hint when Night Palace Disciple B said it for himself. It made him very happy. Chapter 28:17. And so, he used the hint to tell Li Siba and Chikuan that he was taking care of his followers. These two might have been Master Yang's followers before, but now that they were with Naipao, Naipao would let bygones be bygones and still take care of them. Li Siba and Chikuan, on the other hand, would receive the same treatment if they joined Naipao. Chikuan and Li Siba, however, didn't care at all. The two thought to themselves that these two from Dark Palace didn't know the difference between Lin Yi and Naipao. That was why they were following Naipao. They knew that Lin Yi was stronger than Naipao. Wasn't following Naipao the same as well? Naipao saw that Siba and Chikuan didn't have any reaction, so he didn't say anything else. He'd already hinted at it, and it was very obvious. Naipao didn't want to keep talking about it. There would be other practitioners coming soon anyway. He'd just have to scare them a bit more, and they'd be on his side. After a while, a lone cultivator came looking for him. This lone cultivator was a guest cultivator from the endless West Sea. He had the strength of a heaven-class early stage, but he came alone and didn't have any pills. He wanted to hide and rest here, but was stopped by two disciples of the Dark Palace. When the freelancer found out that Naipao was robbing here, he didn't even dare say a fart before leaving, knowing that he wasn't strong enough. Ordinary rogue cultivators, even if they were affiliated with a sect or family, would not dare to be too arrogant. They would be careful when doing things, unlike the direct descendants of sects and families who had backing. Their strength had not come easily, so they did not dare to easily provoke stronger people. Li Siba and Chikuan didn't say anything about the freelancer leaving. They didn't have the ability to stand up for others, and it was already good enough that they could protect themselves. After who knew how long, two more people came to the safe area. These two were Feng Shipian and Ji Xian, who had met Li Siba and Chikuan on the way here. They were very happy to see Li Siba and Chikuan, but Naipao's presence made them hand over their herbs. They only had one, but Naipao didn't say anything and let them rest. Perhaps Naipao still hadn't given up on Lin Yi's followers. He was waiting for an opportunity, a chance to shock and conquer Lin Yi's followers. This would be the biggest blow to Lin Yi's confidence. In actuality, with Feng Shipian and Li Siba, these two sky-class masters, they weren't weaker than Naipao's group in terms of strength, but Naipao's techniques were just too weird, and those who hit him would get injured for no reason. So, Feng Shipian and Li Siba chose to stay silent and not fight with Naipao. In fact, they were all waiting for Lin Yi. Without Lin Yi here, even if they were sky-class, they wouldn't dare make a move. The four sat in a corner of the safe area. They didn't talk to Naipao, and Naipao, on the other hand, didn't seem to be looking for trouble. It seemed like they were safe for now. "Where's young Chichi? Have you guys seen her?" Chikuan knew Lin Yi better. He knew that if young Chichi had nothing to do with Lin Yi wouldn't bother with her time and time again. Especially since this girl was always biting the hand that fed her. Chikuan felt that there had to be something between the two, and that was why he was worried about her. "Young Chichi? Didn't see her." Feng Shipian shook his head, and Ji Xian shook her head as well. "I wonder how she's doing. She's a girl, I hope nothing bad happens to her." Chikuan sighed. They were talking when footsteps came from outside the safe place. After a while, someone walked in. Who else could it be if it wasn't the young Chichi they were looking for? Chikuan was overjoyed. "Chichi, you're here too? That's great, we're all here. We're just missing the boss." But before Chichi could reply, Disciple A spoke up coldly. "This is Gunslinger Zhong's turf. If you want to rest here, you'll have to hand in your medicine. Otherwise, I'm sorry, but you'll have to leave." "Medicine?" Chichi blinked. "I don't have it. Why is this Zhong Naipao's turf? Isn't this? Our Pao bro was the first to arrive here, so of course he'll take over this place. If you want to come, then hand over your trial elixir. If you don't want to come, then scram," Disciple A said coldly. "She's with us. She's just a girl, Why are you making things difficult for her? Feng Shipian couldn't take it anymore. He stood up and turned to the two disciples. We're giving you our medicine, isn't that enough? You guys are yours, she's hers. Disciple B had Zhong Naipao backing him up, so he didn't put Feng Shipian in his eyes at all. This is a rule set by Gunslinger. We can't treat people differently because of their genders. If you don't like it, you can talk to Gunslinger. Feng Shipian's face was green as he looked at Naipao, not daring to get angry. Zhong Naipao, you're strong, but you don't have to do this, do you? What's wrong with me? Do I need to be kind to the followers of my enemies? They're not my followers, Naipao said disdainfully. If you were my followers, then I'd make an exception, but you're not at all. What right do you have to talk to me about this? Alright, if she insists on coming in, then I'll have to kill her. This is a rule I set, and I can't change it. You. Feng Shipian was speechless. He hesitated. Then I'll switch with her, okay? I'll leave and let her come. There's such a thing as switching. Once this precedent was set, the people who came later would be replaced one by one. Once they had enough rest, they would be replaced by the next. Would I still be able to do this business without any capital? Are you an idiot? Naipao denied it right away. Don't say stuff like that. Forget it, I was planning on going somewhere else anyway. Since Lin Yi isn't here, I'll be going. Chichi was pissed off at Naipao's face, but she'd been getting bullied since she got here, so she was used to it. Chapter 28:18. No, I have other important things to do. That's why I'm here, Chichi said. Then, where are you going? I'll tell Brother Lin when he comes back. Feng Shipian didn't have a choice. He couldn't make Chichi stay, but leaving was the best solution. Otherwise, he really wouldn't know what to say to Naipao. Did he really have to change sides and call Naipao boss? 5 Fiends Mountains. Chichi said. I'm actually here to tell you guys something. Chichi's goal here wasn't to get the herbs, but to get to the 5 Fiends Mountains. Through a special channel, she knew about the existence of the 5 Fiends dragon. It was a spirit beast of the 5 elements, and every part of its body was a treasure. What she wanted was the scale of the claw of the 5 Fiends dragon. It was an earth element herb. At first, Chichi didn't know how to get to the 5 Fiends Mountains. After all, the 5 Fiends Barrens was a huge place, and Chichi was completely clueless. But with Lin Yi's map, Chichi could quickly lock onto the direction of the 5 Fiends Mountains. There was a clear mark on the map. Chichi came to a safe place, but it was just along the way. She was planning to look for Lin Yi and see if he could come with her. It'd increase her chances of getting the scale, but Lin Yi wasn't here. She had to go alone. One was that Naipao wouldn't let her in, and 2 was that she didn't know when Lin Yi would be back. There was a time limit to the test, and it had been 4 days already. She didn't want to waste any more time. Plus, even if Lin Yi came back, he might not come with her to the 5 Fiends Mountains. After all, she wasn't anyone to Lin Yi, and Lin Yi didn't need to go with her. And so Chichi gritted her teeth and made her decision. She'd go to the 5 Fiends Mountains alone. This was actually a lot better than what she'd planned. At least she wouldn't get lost with a map. 5 Fiends Mountains? What is that place? Feng Shipian was stunned. He did not study the map carefully, and the 5 Fiend Mountain range was the opposite of where he was previously, so Feng Shipian did not pay much attention to it. I know. The 5 Fiends Mountain range is very dangerous. Why are you going there? Ji Xian carefully studied the map and knew that the 5 Fiend Mountain range was marked as an extremely dangerous place. There's something I need to find, Chichi said. Alright, I'll be going first. If Lin Yi comes back, please thank him for me. Alright. Feng Shipian didn't feel safe letting Chichi go alone, but the truth was that the 5 Fiends Wildlands was full of danger. The spirit beasts here could kill him in one shot, and even if he went with Ji Xian, Li Siba, and Chikuan, they wouldn't be able to handle the danger. Therefore, Feng Shipian chose to stay here and continue to wait for Lin Yi. Chichi left, and Naipao didn't stop her. Chikuan was worried as well, but there was nothing he could do. He could only wait for Lin Yi to come back as soon as possible. A day passed quickly, and the next morning, 2 more practitioners found a safe place. But this time, it was a disciple from the ancient Dongfang clan, an expert with the strength of a heaven-rank late-phase peak. Of course, his strength wasn't visible to the two disciples of the Dark Palace. When Dongfang Bushu brought his follower to a safe place, Disciple A said as if it was a routine matter. "This is Gunslinger Zhong's turf. If you want to rest here, you must hand in your medicine. Otherwise, I'm sorry, but you'll have to leave." Slap. What Disciple A got in return wasn't an answer, but a huge slap to the face, sending him tumbling backwards. Blood poured out of his ears. Evidently, this wasn't a light slap. One had to know that this was a sky-class late-phase peak. Even a casual slap would be quite powerful. "Shut up. Who do you think you are? Watchdog, Zhong Naipao? Who the hell is Zhong Naipao? I'll rest here if I want to, and it's not up to you to tell me if I don't want to. You want me to hand in my medicine?" Dongfang Bushu glared. "Zhong Naipao, is it? Hand over all of your spiritual herbs to me. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite." Dongfang Bushu was arrogant, but he had the right to be arrogant. He was an expert at the peak of the late phase of heaven class, which was the highest level below the heavenly Tao. Even though he hadn't reached the great perfection, he was someone who looked down on all cultivators. He was as powerful as he could be. Now that he was being robbed by a mere earth class from the Dark Palace, he was quite displeased. It was only now that Dongfang Bushu's sky-class late-phase peak was revealed. The other disciple B jumped in fright and quickly hid to the side, not daring to make a sound. Naipao frowned as well. He didn't think that there would be an Earth-class late-phase peak here. He was already feeling a bit weak against that sky-class mid-phase peak Master Yang before, and if it wasn't for the little recovery pill and his practitioner's arts, he probably wouldn't be able to win at all. But now, this Dongfang Bushu was a sky-class late-phase peak, and Naipao really didn't have the confidence to take him down. After all, he might get hurt or even die if he hit him, but Naipao himself might die as well. A sky-class late-phase peak's technique wasn't something to be messed with. The two of them might die at the same time, and Naipao didn't dare test it out. Plus, Naipao's wounds weren't completely healed yet, and if he were to get hurt again, he might really die here. So without a choice, Naipao had to use his ultimate move. He was planning on using this on Lin Yi, but if he didn't use it on this Dongfang Bushu, then he wouldn't be able to save himself. Dongfang Bushu, right? Haha, that's a good name, but it's a waste to use it on you. It should be me. Naipao finished his training and stood up. Alright, I've decided. After I kill you, I'll be called Dongfang Bushu. Chapter 28:19. Phut. Cough cough. Naipao almost fainted from coughing after hearing the words. Didn't Dongfang Bubai castrate himself? How come he has a great-grandson like you? Oh. It's normal, I'm from Dongfang Bubai's cousin's branch. Dongfang Bubai explained, his face red. In actuality, the current head of the house, Dongfang Chaochuan, didn't know if Dongfang Bubai had anything to do with them or not, but the ancient Dongfang house was using this identity as a descendant of Dongfang Bubai to scare people off. Oh, I thought you had the secret to making babies. Naipao said, a little disinterested. That heaven and earth grand shift you're talking about, I've only seen it on TV. I don't practice heaven and earth grand shift. I don't care if you do or not. Don't worry, I won't attack you first. I'll take care of your followers right now, and as long as I don't attack you, your heaven and earth grand shift won't work on me. Dongfang Bubai was certain that Naipao practiced heaven and earth grand shift. Oh, alright. How about I hit you first? Naipao said without a change in expression. You hit me. Come on, as long as you can do anything to me. Dongfang Bubai curled his lips, evidently not taking a sky class like Naipao seriously at all. You're the one who told me to. Naipao hemped coldly. Don't blame me for not reminding you. You're just a sky class early phase, so what if I let you hit me first? Dongfang Bubai said. Dark Hell Demon Fist. Naipao quickly channeled his practitioner's arts and made a weird hand seal before punching out at Dongfang Bubai's head. Dongfang Bubai had been on guard the entire time, channeling his practitioner's arts and using his qi to protect himself. He was also ready to dodge at any moment, and when he saw Naipao's fist coming at him, he took 2 steps back, wanting to dodge. What he didn't expect was for Naipao to stop already, and his fist stopped in midair. But, just as Dongfang Biyu Liu was wondering what Naipao was doing, the chi on his fist didn't stop at all. It went straight into Dongfang Biyu Liu's mind. Dongfang Biyu Bai immediately roared. His eyes turned crimson, and his hands started waving around crazily. As if he was greatly stimulated, he suddenly knelt on the ground and used his hands to pull at his hair. Then, he suddenly jumped up and spun around on the spot. "Young Master Dongfang, what's wrong with you?" His follower was shocked by Dongfang Bushu's strange behavior. He asked in alarm. Dongfang Biyu Liu didn't answer at all. He just shook off his follower, causing the follower to stumble and almost fall to the ground to his death. His follower was only an Earth class mid-phase. How could he withstand that? However, this follower had the heavy responsibility of accompanying Dongfang Biyu Liu. If anything happened to Dongfang Biyu Liu during the trial, then he would not have a good time when he returned to the Dongfang family. He was only an ordinary disciple of the Dongfang family. Plop! Dongfang Biyu Liu actually knelt on the ground and started kowtowing. Other than Naipao, everyone present was very surprised. Just what was going on with him? Dongfang Biyu Liu kept kowtowing as he shouted some unknown incantation. All of a sudden, Dongfang Biyu Liu turned around and ran out of the safe area, rushing outside. Who knew what he was going to do? The follower was startled and hurriedly ran after him. In the end, he saw Dongfang Biyu Sheng rushing towards a large spirit beast that was crawling on the ground. When the crawling spirit beast saw Dongfang Biyu Liu rushing over, especially when it sensed his peak late-stage heaven rank strength, it immediately became vigilant. It looked at the approaching Dongfang Biyu Liu and roared, "Roar!" However, Dongfang Biyu Liu didn't seem to hear the spirit beast's roar as he rushed towards it. This situation shocked the people in the safe area. That was a huge spirit beast. Not even a sky-class late-phase peak full circle would be a match for it, let alone Dongfang Biyu Liu. As expected, the follower watched as the spirit beast swung its tail and smacked Dongfang Biyu Liu to the ground. How powerful was that crawling spirit beast? Dongfang Biyu Liu twitched a little after being smacked to the ground, and his eyes rolled back as he went to the west to seek for scriptures. This scene was witnessed by the people in the safe place. Because it was a straight line, even if they were in the safe place, they could see it clearly through the entrance. This made the people in the safe place feel a chill down their spines. If one were to say that Master Yang killing Naipao after hitting him was a weird thing, then what was happening right now was even more unbelievable. He didn't know what technique Naipao used, but it was as if Dongfang Biyu Shuro had gone insane, charging to the spirit beast side and getting beaten to death. Dongfang Biyu Shu's follower stared blankly at the scene in front of him, not knowing what to do. Dongfang Biyu Shu was dead, and he didn't know what to do. At this moment, his mind was blank. He only thought of running away, or dying together with Dongfang Biyu Shu. However, the follower's rationality and loyalty made him wait for the spiritual beast to leave before he carefully collected Dongfang Biyu Shu's corpse. He then slowly walked towards the teleportation formation. If he had known this would happen, he would not have chosen to rest in a safe place with Dongfang Biyu Shu. Even if he had to forcefully persuade him, he would have made Dongfang Biyu Shu leave this place. But there was no medicine for regret in this world, and the follower couldn't do anything about it. Whether or not he could reach the teleportation circle safely with the body was another matter, but no matter what, he did his best. After collecting the body, he didn't even look back at the safe area, and didn't dare say anything to Naipao. Naipao was just too strong. After all, a sky-class late-phase peak had died in such a strange way. "You overestimate yourself," Naipao said faintly. Naipao said faintly as he turned to Mo Ba, "Give our friend from the Dark Palace a small recovery pill. He's injured as well." Chapter 28:20. Feng Shipian and Li Siba looked at each other, not saying anything. They knew that Naipao was trying to win their hearts, but Feng Shipian wasn't the type of person to go back on his word. He wouldn't go over to Naipao's side right now. After Chichi left, everyone was in a safe place. Naipao wanted Feng Shipian to go over to his side, but he didn't threaten him. If he did, he wouldn't be able to hurt Lin Yi, and that would be pointless. He didn't need people like Feng Shipian anymore. He had a lot of them in the everyday sect, so why would he need people like Feng Shipian? He just wanted to hurt Lin Yi. In truth, Feng Shipian and Li Siba had missed a golden opportunity. Nai Pao was extremely weak right now, and after using that dark demon fist, he'd used up all of his chi and stamina. He'd need some time to recuperate, and there was no way he could fight again. He was completely defenseless right now, and even a golden class could kill him in one hit. This was the biggest flaw of this ultimate technique. If there was no need, he would absolutely not use it. Of course, this was also a common flaw of some ancient heaven-defying martial skills. Otherwise, if a cultivator mastered this heaven-defying martial skill, then he could challenge many experts by himself. Then, the balance of the cultivation world would be lost. Right now, Nai Pao's technique was completely based on the fact that he wasn't on the same level as everyone else. After killing Dongfang Bu Liu, it was a huge shock to the others, and no one dared to fight him. This gave him time to recover. If he hadn't been hit by young Hero Yang, he wouldn't have been in such a sorry state. At least after using the Dark Demon Fist, he still had some stamina. He wouldn't have been killed by a Huang class cultivator. At the very least, only a cultivator of the same level could kill him. However, because of young Hero Yang's move, he had already wasted a lot of his true chi. Before he had fully recovered, Dongfang Buliu had come and caused the current situation. Nai Pao's heart was beating like a drum, but he didn't show any fear in front of Chichi. He was still as strong as ever, and Feng Shipian and Li Siba didn't dare do anything rash. Nai Pao and Demon 8 would have been dead by now. But it wasn't their fault they didn't have a golden finger. They weren't like Lin Yi, who could tell if Nai Pao's chi was full or not. It wasn't until Nai Pao's chi had recovered enough for him to use the Dark Demon Fist again that a smile of relief appeared on Nai Pao's face for a brief moment, in the CEO office of the Liu family's company in Beijing. Tianli was in the middle of correcting reports, and his smoking cravings kicked in. He reached for the box of cigarettes on the corner of the table, only to realize that the pack was empty. Secretary Zhong. Tianli pressed the call button for the secretary's office. Bring me another pack of cigarettes. President Liu, what brand do you use? Secretary Zhong asked quickly. The one Mr. Lang gave me before. Tianli said. Ever since he smoked the special cigarettes Mr. Lang gave him, he'd lost interest in other types of cigarettes. They weren't satisfying at all. Only Mr. Lang's cigarettes were satisfying. President Liu, Mr. Lang's cigarettes are out. The one I gave you before was the last pack. Would you like to look for something else? Secretary Zhong asked. Out. Tianli paused, realizing that it was about time. He was a fast smoker, and Mr. Lang didn't give him a lot of cigarettes. It was normal for him to finish it quickly, but he wasn't satisfied with the rest. Bring me 2 packs then. All right, President Liu. After hanging up, Secretary Zhong quickly walked in from the secretary's office and gave Tianli a few packs of cigarettes, all different brands. Tianli quickly opened one pack and put it in his mouth. He lit it up and took 2 puffs. He couldn't help but frown. This isn't good to smoke, it's boring. President Liu, why don't I go out and look for cigarettes of Mr. Lang's brand for you? There's an imported cigarette store near the company. I'll see if there's any there. Secretary Zhong asked carefully. It's okay, you can't buy it. It's Mr. Lang's special cigarettes. I'll make a call myself. Tianli waved his hand and dialed Mr. Lang's number. Haha, Mr. Liu? Why are you calling me all of a sudden? Isn't our cooperation going well? Mr. Lang picked up quickly and asked passionately. Mr. Lang, that's not why I'm calling you. It's a private matter. Tianli said. It's about the cigarettes you gave me before. Do you have any more? I'm used to it, and I'm not used to other types of cigarettes. Can you give me 2 more? If not, I can buy them with money. We're partners. Why are you talking about money for such a small matter? Mr. Lang said nonchalantly. It's just a few cigarettes. Why would I need money? Thank you, Mr. Lang. Tianli was overjoyed. Then I'll ask my secretary Zhong to go get it from your hotel. There's no need, President Liu. I'll go there myself. However, it just so happens that I have something else to discuss with you. As for the cigarettes, logically speaking, it's not a problem for me to give you a few cartons, but... President Lang paused. Mr. Lang, is there a problem? Tianli's heart skipped a beat as he asked. It's not a problem. It's just that there's only one carton left, and that's all I have. I'm here to talk business with you, and this is all I've brought. Mr. Lang said. Just one. Tianli thought to himself. How was one enough for him? He could only smoke half a cigarette a day, and this would be gone in 2 days, and this was under the condition that he was saving. Then, can't I ask your company to send some more over? Tianli asked. Tianli didn't know what to say, but he didn't know what to say. About that, let's talk about it after I get there. There are some things I wanted to talk to you about as well. Mr. Lang said. All right, I'll be waiting for you in my office. Tianli quickly said as soon as he heard that there was hope. If Tianli had X-ray vision, he'd be shocked. That Mr. Lang was always standing, like a slave beside a young man who was sitting in a boss chair. That young man was probably the boss behind the scenes,